similar, and they came out at a very similar time.
Yeah.
The Samira Rel could have come out, but instead we're going to see Dread head towards his Olaf.
And we're going to see the Orianna as well. So I almost feel like Afreeca knew what they were getting into. They ban away the Syndra and they pick the Orianna. We also mentioned how Fly is a great Orianna player. So you're denying Bay a couple of picks by doing this. You do give away a strong bottom lane, but it's not the Aphelios, which we see a lot from Duckdown. So I feel like Afreeca get a pretty nice start here in the draft. The Orianna and the Olaf obviously working very well together. But you were talking about that priority in the bottom side, and Nongshim certainly get a really nice bottom lane already.
Yep. I like that they copped the ban of the Aphelios. Of course, Duckdown showing. Didn't matter what he called himself, he was always very, very good on the Aphelios. As the Graves is going to be locked in for Peanuts, certainly one of his big picks. If you remember back to play-ins last year, that was how he terrorized the rest of the world, utilizing this Graves. He has gone through a couple of changes, but with the shield bow still being intact, actually going to be getting a buff in the next patch, but we're not going to be talking about that because we only just got to 11.2, so let's stick with that one. We'll see whether Peanut does go back towards the Gale Force. Of course, an extra 30 seconds does mean something, but does it mean enough? That's going to be the question, as there's the Samira locked away. And we'll see whether Rel is going to be in the minds of Nongshim as we head towards our second ban phase. Victor going to be taken away, so no Victor Orianna. Wow, I feel like... What year is it, Valdez? Like 2014 or something like that? Oh my god.
Yeah, I kind of like it. The Rel ban, as you mentioned, pretty obvious here. You don't want to give Rel Orianna, let alone Rel Samira. It would just be way too much synergy, and I feel like Afreeca would just win the draft straight up. So easy ban there. Lehen's got some cool blue glasses on, it looks like.
He's had these for a while. Because he plays with windowed mode and has just a blue background. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen.
Representing Afreeca, I guess.
Yeah. I've been sorry. I've been listening to a lot of the like synthwave stuff on YouTube recently, and I feel like that's what the glasses people that were in those songs would be wearing.
Yeah,
with the like blue borders.
Does make sense.
Yeah, super sick. All right, so we are going to see the Rumble band away. In fact, by Afreeca. It's Afreeca that often takes some Rumble bands, but not this time around. They just want to get rid of it. Nah, going to be taken off the board as well as now Bang. Let's see whether he takes away a pick for Lehens or whether he's going to lock down one for Keen. I imagine that the support should just be locked in here.
You would like to see that. Hold the counter pick for the top side for Keen. I just wonder where Afreeca are at in terms of mindset as a team. Like, do we want to save counter pick for the bottom lane? I mean, they already know what they're going up against, and we are going to see Rakan. Now, this is a pick that we haven't been too big of fans here on the LCK desk. And it is going to be alongside the Samira. So very curious to see if this will actually get some value here in the hands of Lehens.
Yeah, it does give a fair bit of juggle opportunity to the grand entrance, theoretically, things like that. There is certainly some synergy there, but hasn't been the most powerful, and especially as a pick into the Alistar. I mean, that's okay. I mean, Alistar's not going to be doing too much in the early stage of the game anyway, so Lehens should be able to have some space to get around and get things done, as Rich is going to take his famous Gragas towards the top side of the map, and we'll see where Bay is going to go.
This is really the question. Already 3 control mages taken away from him. Will he go for number 4? It looks like...
Surprise, surprise!
Yeah, Azir does come in here. He's got a big smile on his face. He doesn't seem too bothered by the fact that he had to dig into his champion pool a little bit here.
No, well, that one's going to be locked away. Let's see where Keen's going to go for the counter pick into the Gragas. Gragas is such a safe blind pick, though. I actually really like this out of Nongshim. Does give Rich a lot of utility options as well. He can build full tank if he would like to and really get control of these team fights. And Keen's going to head towards the Sylas, as both teams playing around AD jungles quite effectively here with their magic damage in both solo lanes. And the Samira certainly going to get a little bit of extra space, given the fact that it's not super easy just building straight armor.
Nope. Both these sides are definitely going to have some mixed resistances for sure, as you did mention. Sylas, we've seen it a couple of times, a bit against Ornn, obviously, but also against other picks, such as Gragas. And you've got a dash, so you can dash out of the cask, hopefully, and also you can take your own cask. That is going to scale pretty nicely with the AP that you do build. And I kind of like it because I think that Afreeca will have to get a bit more aggressive in the early game. If you look over on the side of Nongshim, I mean, Kaisa, Azir, and Graves, that's a whole lot of scaling already. And if you just let this get into the mid game, or late game rather, yes, you do have Samira, you have some scaling options of your own. I just wonder if they can, you know, I feel like the mid game fights are going to be much more in their favor compared to late game fights for Afreeca. So would like to see some tempo, some aggressive pushing in the early game. We'll see if they actually do go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Afreeca here. I feel like they've put together a bunch of semi-answers to what is just a really stock standard good, scales well, but also does a lot of things in the early to mid game on the side of Nongshim. This is a composition that's tried and true and should just work. But I think there are some question marks in the mid lane, right? Like Azir versus Orianna can go any which way. We used to see this felt like every single day, every single mid matchup. And it's not necessarily decided. We'll probably bring up some stats to give you win rates between the two, but I think it often has to do with who's piloting either champion in a lot of instances. Of course, Azir did get a little bit of a buff, but I don't think that's going to do anything for how this lane is actually going to function. So whoever gets priority, I think, is going to be a real boon for their team in this game. So both of our mid laners now with a spotlight on them, and neither of them have really wanted one of those at all.
No, absolutely not. The pressure on both of them for sure. And it does look like we have a little bit of a delay. Not sure exactly what this is about, but hoping that we do get into the game in, you know, just a moment, guys. So hang on to your chairs.
Yeah, before they take off.
You are. I guess you could be watching on your phone somewhere.
Yeah.
Some tablet watchers out there as well. I see you.
Hang on to your whatever you're utilizing in order to be comfortable while you're observing the LCK. Could be standing on a train though, you know?
That's true. Oh, that's... we do that sometimes.
Yeah,
when we're
often.
Not casting. Yeah. Not as much anymore because I don't really leave my house, but
Yeah.
Maybe in the future when I'm allowed to.
One day we'll be allowed back to the glorious LOL Park, and I'll be able to go to the Bilgewater Cafe, get a cold brew, and just feel really happy about it. Miss those times, Valdez. We used to have all of our rituals, and now we just sit at home. And that's it.
Yeah. Kind of made some new rituals here. I've moved into the living room. I get to eat like right before the cast, which I like. It's good for energy.
Yeah.
You know? And I guess you would expect it to be more comfortable, but I actually prefer casting in the studio.
Me too.
Feels like the mindset is more there, you know? And I don't have to worry about my neighbors or anything like that, you know? Screaming about League of Legends at 11:30 at night.
I don't know. I think your neighbors are going to be screaming about League of Legends far more if you're in LOL Park, because, you know, it's going to be me or Wolf or Chronicler in the future. Bit of a Chronicler update for you guys. He's going to be arriving pretty soon. He's going to be heading straight into quarantine, unfortunately, so we're not going to be able to hang out or anything like that. We should be able to get him on the broadcast pretty quickly. Definitely very exciting stuff.
You know, that's the biggest thing, right? The fact that he can...
yeah.
He'll be in his quarantine house, and he'll be able to cast from there. Riot helping out with that very much, so props to them for making it possible.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to get him on, so that'll be exciting. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, really excited. Hopefully we haven't jinxed anything, but I have a feeling it's all pretty set in stone now as Lahen's going down to about half health. Kellen trading a bit of his health bar as well, but just a little bit of biffo back and forth in the bottom lane. Nothing really to write home about. As, you know, Wolf says write home about. I used to say that a lot until I said it 2015 MSI, and Kobe made fun of me. And I have since, I'd never said write home about it again. He's like, who are you going to write home about? Who are you going to write to? I'm like, oh, I don't know, my mom, I guess. And I was really embarrassed because I was a brand new commentator.
And he was like, ha, you're a mama's boy.
I don't remember. He was just making a joke because he hadn't really heard the saying very often or something like that. And I'm like, doesn't everyone use that? Like, am I the weird one? And because he was like super cool and Kobe, and that was my first international event I'd ever done, I was like, oh, I'm obviously the idiot. I'm obviously the idiot. Oh no, please. Kobe, don't be mean. And now we joke about it every time we meet up. And I'm like, how dare you troll me so effectively?
Did you write to your mom?
Yeah, I did. I had to. I think we brought that joke up a couple of times afterwards, but it it sort of fell into history as Rich is going to have to flash here as Dread's making his way in. That's a great abduct from Keen, though. The undertow is going to easily land, and this will be first blood going over to Dread's Olaf. Once again, Afreeca continuing that amazing stat line is Peanut. Just a little bit too late for the first blood, and Fly down to about 100, but he's not going to die just yet.
Yeah, double teleport in the mid lane should be okay. Should be able to get back here just on time. He's actually going to stick around. Doesn't want to lose these minions. It's not a cannon wave, so he wouldn't have had time. So, nice gank up in the top side. We'll get a replay of that, but it was kind of just... it was really the great timing that comes in here. Now, Rich, he's supposed to know that Dread could be on the top of the map. Like, this is just Olaf jungle pathing stuff you have to know. But he's so far down the lane that he eventually realizes it. You know, halfway through the trade, he's like, oh, crap. Like,
yeah.
The fact that Keen is getting aggressive on me right now means that Olaf is here. And he realizes it, but it's too late, and it's just way too far down the lane. Also, he didn't have his body slam because he used it in the trade, so pretty unfortunate. You know, the lane was going pretty well for him, so I understand how he was getting excited, but you got to be able to focus. You got to know when that jungle could be on the top of the map and when he could be coming for a gank, and that's just a risk that Rich kind of overlooked this time around.
Well, Rich is going to try and alleviate his problem by putting down a very deep ward on the red buff, as you can see. So he might be able to keep tabs on where this Olaf is a little bit better. But you can see, still towards the top side of the map as he's heading towards the enemy wolf camp. Peanut making his way over. He might actually find him here, as Dread has his own ward in the area. But, you know, Olaf just clears the jungle a little bit too fast. And this one will be taken. And yeah, Peanut not even going to get any word of it.
Okay, good scanner here from Peanut. Knows that he's probably been here sometime soon because my wolves did just spawn.
Well, Dread, we'll see whether he's going to continue bothering Peanut here, who could just hop over the wall with the quick draw, of course, but it does mean that there's a lot more power given over to the Olaf as Bang going in onto Doctarm. Bladewell comes through there as well. Don't know how much it did, but the flash over and Bang grabs it with a melee swing. Very dead is Doctarm now in the 2 versus 2 on the bottom side of the map, and we were big upping Afreeca's bottom lane. This is a tough opponent, and they're already coming out on top.
Yeah, it's got to feel really good. I'm curious to see how the fight even began. We'll see if it was a Hens engage or was it just a trade gone wrong for Doctarm and Kellen. That got them into an awkward spot. We have the cast stolen here.
Yeah, and then thrown into oblivion. Still going to be winning out on this trade. Imagine if that ulti had have landed, Valdez. Things could have been
zoning
a little bit different. Yeah, exactly.
He forced him into an awkward trade.
It's similar to what Viego's going to be, because now, like, you used to have to know all of the ultis, and I'm going to hold my question just for a little bit as Rich is in trouble yet again. Puts down a barrel. It's a decent body slam as King gets booped back. Still going to die, and that's pretty good management of the turret aggro as well. So unfortunately, Rich suffers his second death of the game.
Yeah, pretty much perfect dive there. Really good stuff from the side of Afreeca. They knew there was no flash available for the Gragas, so Rich just using his body slam to try to trade back, but as you mentioned, the juggling of the turret aggro was just too good at the end of the day. So much value already for Dread up in the top side, and Peanut is trying to fight it back on the other side of the map, but we'll see how well this goes. Not looking so good so far.
Yeah, Fly making his way in. Kellen is in great position to zone him away, though, as Peanut gets the smite. Of course, no smite in the area, as Dread was still making his way over. So this is already a phenomenal start for Afreeca Freecs, and they had their Wheaties this morning, man. They're looking on fire.
Yeah, you know, it's the early game, right? So
well,
Afreeca are gonna look good. Yeah. Let's see this play down in the bottom side. I'm guessing this is okay, so it's an engage kind of gone wrong. As Lahens with the follow-up engage, he says Smear's gonna be able to pounce on that Kai'Sa very nicely, which is exactly what they do. That's just better play from the Afreeca bottom lane. And nice timing, nice turnaround there for Bang and Lahens to pick up that kill. That's definitely going to get them ahead on the gold. And have another engage.
Yeah, big Hex Flash comes through from Kellen, but Bang's just going to suffer a bit of health loss. And then he's going to make his way back under the turret. Should be able to use that Vampiric Scepter to get his health back. As we've got Peanut trying to lock down his own jungle, but he should be losing his blue buff here. Yeah, no real answer. His control ward is going to be checked on. Peanut should be able to get rid of that. He's doesn't deserve a name. That one didn't last quite long enough.
Yeah.
Jeff, you'll always be remembered.
We've had a lot of good named wards, but
yeah, we
that
might have
one
to
was
come
not
up with one today.
They just right over a ward. I think he even saw it, and Afreeca definitely saw him, so they're immediately just going to go for the Rift Herald in a response here, as that gank does not work out.
Yep. Should be pretty free as well, as you can see, all up in the area. Keen with lane control. And there will be Fly moving on over, as he can basically clear waves whenever he feels like it. He's going to choose to go for a reset here, and Afreeca continue on the front foot well and truly here in this game. Despite all of the efforts, I mean, Kellen seems to be like feeling the desperation already here, just at 9 minutes in, based on his play, right?
Yeah, I like the minion dematerializer there, his first one that he used. Just wants to be safe. It would have been very obvious for him to step up and level 6 for both of the enemy bottom laners, so have to be careful about that. And yeah, you know, he's trying to make some plays, but he's got to be careful now with the levels the way they are. And this is just a really awesome start again from Afreeca. And this is exactly what they needed, right? You can't let Graves, Azir, Kai'Sa go just, you know, into the late game for free, basically. You have to punish them. You have to try to get an early lead. And 2,000 golds before 10 minutes is certainly a very nice lead.
Well, as the Emperor's Divide, as Bay is going to catch up to Fly there. Shockwave does get both of them, but collateral damage is going to be enough. And Peanut says goodbye to Fly in the mid lane. Rich up here towards the top side, still trying to keep things working as Kellen once again goes in, but Bang is going to do exactly the same. Big thumbs up there from Doctum as they're trying to turn this one around. The Bladewell gets a lot of value as Kellen gets the speed up from the heal, and Bang's just running away from this one. Doesn't want to see anything of it. Throws out a cheeky Q, but now they are going to get back. It's going to be a better trade there for Afreeca, who hold on to their Ignite.
Yeah, for sure. I love the thumbs up from Ducktom, showing the confidence, saying, you know, I'm fine to handle your engage. You don't scare me. Takes that very nicely. And we are going to see a replay of the mid lane here. So Fly, with Flash available, he gets engaged on. And when that happens, you need to flash the Emperor's Divide. Because if Graves is here, this is exactly what happens. He flashes forward, he combos you. It doesn't matter if the Shockwave hits. He's still going to be able to buffer it through. So Fly needs to be quicker on the trigger there. If he wants to survive, you need to flash that Emperor's Divide. Of course, with no vision, and you don't know exactly where the enemy jungler is, if you just flash that for free, it's also not a great feeling.
Yep, well, we've got casts going absolutely everywhere here on the top side of the map, but it's Rich that has to flash. Keen sends him the message, and it is received by the Gragas. Gragas wants nothing to do with it whatsoever, so another great trade there, going in favor of Afreeca.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, pretty much just for free. A lot of respect being shown by Rich. I can't remember, honestly, Atlas, a game where he's won the laning phase, and that is a problem. You know,
yeah,
you can't just have your top lane lose every single time, and it's very different from what Rich used to be as a player. So definitely concerning, and I feel like that's one of the main sticking points for me when I think about Nongshim RedForce and their potential success as a team. Is that they have to shore up that top lane somehow.
Rich is, he reminds me of Cube in a lot of ways, you know? Doesn't necessarily lane very well, but sometimes just has these amazing moments when it comes to team fights and how he utilizes utility for the rest of his team. So you can understand the value, but there's certainly some pitfalls there if you are a Nongshim fan. As Afreeca moving on over to this Ocean Drake, Nongshim were able to lock down the first one, Peanut, successfully securing the Infernal. As this Ocean will go down, we will definitely have a Cloud Soul this game. I'll have to apologize for that one.
Thanks, Atlas.
Yeah, my bad.
You do it every time.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. Are they actually going to challenge this? You see the rotation is coming in from mids first.
Oh, cast a curse, hell yeah.
But doesn't happen. There you go, Mountain Drake.
Nailed it. That's what you got to do. I've got to be wrong in some way. And thankfully, I was either wrong or right, and I'm happy to be right, and also happy to be wrong in this case. As we're going to bring up some of the gold here. Difference for Keen is massive, as well as Dread's lead in the jungle. Keen being, you know, a big benefactor as Bay's winning out on this mid matchup. Of course, getting the kill onto Fly certainly going to be helping him out there. And this is going to be great for Nongshim, because getting the Azir to unstoppable force mark is going to be very, very important for how this game is going to continue. You already mentioned the scaling viability of this Nongshim squad. They certainly still have that, and they also have a lot of players that are very good at navigating late game fights. Peanut, no stranger to it. Docdom as well has certainly showed some late game prowess, and Rich, that's where he plays the game, man. He doesn't really do early game, doesn't really exist. It's all about getting that late game online and see how quickly they can get there.
Very true. The early game doesn't exist for him right now. I think he's in vision.
Oh dear, Shockwave comes down, Bay. He's gonna flash Shifting Sands, and he is gonna be okay for now. The last tick of Ignite, not enough.
There you go. That one ward in the mid lane, that was like just barely spotting him. Feels pretty good for Afreeca to be able to trade back a bit in the mid lane as well, to at least get that flash down. But still very far ahead in the mid lane, and is going to pick up the Leandries first in that mid matchup.
Yeah. Nice hit on from Bay. Has gone for the Comet once again as well as Peanut chasing after Dread here. Kellen's going to make his way in. Battle Dance from Lahens. And Afreeca will back away, just sending a message here. Well received by Nongshim. Checking in on some of the CS numbers, it felt like Peanut was being put behind, but actually he hasn't. Seems absolutely fine as, you know, Rich not so much, as Keen just pressing about 1 billion buttons. And Rich doing his best to walk away. But it is spelling out about a 25 CS lead at the moment as this wave is going to crash. Teleport available for Keen. Sorry, for Rich, and we'll see whether he actually uses it to get back towards the top lane. Gonna hold on to it here. Understands that things could get a little bit dicey as this game goes on. Bang by himself here trying to farm things out bottom side of the map. There is at least a Sunfire Aegis here picked up for Rich.
I like how he saves his teleport there. Like, he's so far behind in the lane, like, he's never coming back, right? There's no time where he's actually going to be able to sit up in the top side. He was going to lose the turret anyway, even if he teleports up there, so you save it because the Mountain Drakes are so valuable. This engage not going to do much. They're gonna
Damn, that Battle Dance from Lahens was so sick, as now Dread's going to make his way in. Peanut now on the run as Bang flashes forward, gets that S rank, a lot of AoE damage, but teleports coming from absolutely everywhere. Kellen's going to flash at the last second. Keen moving on over, and Rich just says, get the heck out of there, guys. Keen's massive. And he absolutely is. And Afreeca are going to get control of this lane. Keen will see whether he can actually get under here, as there goes the barrel. They deliver the Gragas over, but he only loses half of his health bar. Another barrel flies out. My goodness, is it Oktoberfest? It's way too early.
Yeah, we're in Tennessee, maybe. We're throwing out some barrels of whiskey or something. He's, yeah, Rich is desperately trying to be the better Gragas in this game, but it's not working out for, for the poor Gragas, of course. And, yeah, that's actually a nice amount of value for Afreeca as well. I mean, so many teleports are used. Fly, it looks like he was able to interrupt Bay's teleport in the mid lane. You'll notice that he also kept his flash while he interrupted that. So Bay, maybe a bit of a panic moment, just went for it in the middle of the lane, perhaps, and he got punished there. And Fly gets to teleport back to lane after buying his Ludens and be in a much better spot. So that's going to be some nice mid-prio going the way of Afreeca for now. And that's exactly what he wanted when this Mountain Drake is coming up. Nongshim, though, are able to take this Rift Herald. Surely is going to come down here, and they can maybe use that for some pressure before this Mountain Drake, which we were talking about is very important. If you can scale with the Mountain Drakes with some of the tanks that you have on your team, especially Rich, who is building tank and not AP, that will just help out with the scaling and give you a better chance to win in the late game.
And speaking of the late game, I mean, I think it's going to take a while for this game to move forward. Towers have taken basically 0 damage, Valdez. Like, almost 0. I don't know where Shelly went. She happened somewhere, but she didn't really do too much. I think, yeah, it was mid lane, right?
Dread got the gold, all of it, actually, so none of it went the way of Fly, which was a bit unfortunate.
It's a bit sad, but definitely good for Dread, who wants to continue to be valuable. Certainly is with the, okay, we've got a bit of an engage, as there's the Grand Entrance, quickness down as well, but not able to find too much more as Lahens is taken down by Docdom. Docdom's going to continue this spree. Double kill comes forward as Dread just running away. The Acathian Rain is terrifying, as in comes Bay as well. Docdom, does he have another supercharge? No, but he has a flash and just hops on over. That's going to be a very comfortable kill, actually picked up by Bay somehow. And now Peanut in the back of the pit looking for this first Mountain Drake of the game.
Yep, he'll be able to get that for free. No jungler on the side of Afreeca, as a bit of a whoopsie-daisy there. Not sure why they were so aggressive in the enemy jungler onto the one guy who is really tanky. the Gragas.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bang says, okay, I'll be able to hit my S rank, I'll be able to do my damage. And not sure who was calling for this exactly, but you'll notice, like, okay, everything's just going to be eaten up from Rich. And Bang doesn't even get to ultimate until, well, actually not at all. So that's where a lot of that damage is missing. So you think about it on paper, and yes, Afreeca have the ability in an extended fight to maybe make this work, but both Fly and Keen were totally zoned. They were not in the jungle with them, so it basically turned into a 3-on-3, then 3-on-4, and then 3-on-5, and then they were just on the run after losing the trade. So a bit too aggressive there from Afreeca, I suppose you could say.
And this is what Afreeca have been doing, man. It sort of reaches this awkward mid-game, and they're like, I think we have to do something, right, guys? And then it all sort of gets thrown away. And it feels like it's happening once again. You can see Afreeca still have a lead of about 2,000. But Nongshim, they've got those dragons.
We saw the graph atlas before the game started.
Yeah, right.
30 minutes. This is when Afreeca always lose their leads. And we are approaching it.
Well, I'm feeling a little bit of a Monk S at this point after that play in the jungle, but Afreeca have still set themselves up relatively well. And Keen's very, very strong. Currently 42 CS in the lead, has his Leandries completed, looking for his Zhonya's as item number 2. And the Silas will be very scary. But Rich is just going to be a meatball, right? Like he's going to do his job no matter what you do. Now has an Oblivion Orb, wants to be able to get those grievous wounds all around the team as best he can. And there is a lot of healing, you know, be it the Silas, the Olaf, even Samira. Partially the Rakan, although you're not necessarily going to be writing home about that one. Every time I say it, man, I think about it every time. Every time. As Fly here in the mid lane,
right,
I'll have to deal with Shirley.
To Kobe.
please go. You don't mean to be. All right. He wasn't beaten. It was just some friendly banter that I was confused about. As in goes Shirley, gets her skull rammed into this tower, and they should be able to tidy it up. Keen thinking about a flank play, but Afreeca, it's not what they do. 20 minutes has landed, and not going to go for any sort of pincer maneuver right now. Keen back towards the bottom side to continue shoving. They have managed to take down that turret on the top side of the map, Afreeca, so at least there is that one. Gotten some work done to some of these structures around the map, but as these team fights are happening, it's feeling like Nongshim is starting to feel themselves, and a 2-1-1 Kai'Sa is a very scary prospect as we check in on her on the top side of the map. Keen now going to get booped, but he's able to dash. Gibbs gone going to be enough.
And, you know, on the side of Nongshim, I feel like Dokdam is just the most confident player right now. He's throwing up thumbs up after a bad trade from Afreeca. He's, you know, he's getting a bit cocky, and I like it. You know, he should play with confidence. He has done well in this lane outside of that 1-2v2 trade that went awry, and he's ahead, at least in CS. And on the other side, you have a Silas from Keen. I feel like he's kind of best positioned from the side of Afreeca.
Yeah.
Mid lane falling slightly behind, bottom lane already talked about that. And at the same time, you know, the Silas as a split pusher can only do so much as the meatball gets meatier, you know, as the Gragas gets thicker and thicker. So, I haven't been too big of a fan of the Silas, but the matchup was nice. I just wonder how it's going to do as this game comes along.
He also has some really cool ultimates to steal. We know that Unbreakable Will is certainly one that a lot of Silases have really loved in the past. Emperor's Divide, we can remember many, many Silases with some big Emperor's Divide plays. Faker certainly coming to mind when it comes to that. Collateral Damage can also be a great one just to pick up towards the end of a fight to grab some stragglers. So certainly some options here for Keen to find himself some really cool ultimates as this game goes on and as the hijack gets a lower and lower cooldown. So he can switch up maybe a couple of different ults in a team fight. We'll have to see where he goes, though, as right now he's in a smoke screen.
Yeah. And if this game just stalls out here, and Nongshim already have one Mountain Drake that was kind of thrown away by Afreeca being aggressive in the enemy jungle, I'm really liking Nongshim's chances in this game, actually. You know, the early game, the first 20 minutes was all Afreeca. But then one mistake later, it's like, okay, now we don't have too much confidence in Afreeca as a team at this point in the game as well. They really haven't given us anything to go on, right? They haven't proven themselves from 20 to 30 minutes at all. It's been the exact opposite. So you've got a scaling composition that already has one Mountain Drake, and now they have position on the second one, Not to mention the first Infernal that they took. And if they can take a good team fight here and take the Mountain Drake, they're in a fantastic position to take this game.
They get triple Mountain Soul. Rich is just never going to die. As we're going to go in, it is going to be Peanut that locks down that dragon, but can they win the team fight as well? As Keen's going in with the abduct, there's the shockwave onto 2. Massive AoE though, the knockup is just gigantic on both sides, but Doctum avoided all of it. The Acathian Rain comes down, but the rest of his team have been taken out already. He flashes over, looks for Fly, flies out of position. Doctum the god! The rest of Nongshim gets out of there, and Doctum takes care of the rest.
That is so massive. Duckdom just having a little pog moment of his own. Gets in there and gets out, just running circles around Afreeca. And it all started off pretty well for the side of Afreeca. A big shockwave right on top of that dragon. Again, I feel like it came a little bit too late, right? Because you have Dread coming in here, he's not able to steal the Drake, and then you start the fight. So that Drake is helping out here, making their tankier members even more tanky. But then you get this gigantic follow-up counter-engage from Nongshim. You've got the Emperor's Divide and everything like that. And then there's a lot of squishy members, and Dokdam wasn't really doing much. He was zoned over the wall, but then he finds his moment, gets one, and then he hops over the wall and picks off Fly as well. So able to get so much value on the cleanup duty. He was the janitor of that fight. And now he's 4-1 and immensely fed in this game.
Yeah, he's gigantic. You remember the lead for Bang earlier on as well. He was up by about 400, 500 or something like that in the early stages of the game. And now you've got Keen, who is still gigantically far ahead, but the same difference is in favor of Dokdam, who's been fed so much of the money from this mid game. Let's see whether Nongshim can get behind him and just finish this game off. They now have that soul point available. And with such a tanky Gragas, it's incredibly valuable to get all of those extra stats and the shielding that's going to be involved. Kellen as well. I mean, he's going to be huge in the front line at the same time. With the Mountain Soul, I think it's really, really valuable for this squad especially, as it would only really be, you know, Dread that's trying to soak a little bit more damage, but doesn't necessarily build a lot of resistances. Has a lot of health, I guess, and so can actually be augmented quite nicely. But we shouldn't really be talking about Afreeca with dragons, right? Because they've got one. They've got a measly ocean. Who cares about that? They're going to need to stack up a whole bunch more and pray for a late game miracle.
No, nobody cares about their singular Ocean Drake.
Yeah.
Poor Ocean Drake. Not having too many friends in this one. Afreeca trying to make them feel better about it, but it's not helping the rest of us. And yeah, I mean, if the game continues along these lines, we saw the gold difference graphed. It's on the slow increase. It's no GameStop, but you know, it's pretty good. Slow and steady.
To the moon.
On the rise. We're not going to the moon yet, that's for sure.
No,
and,
that's in our next match. That's where we check out the Chovy stonks, okay?
Yeah, how high will they rise today?
Exactly. You got to keep your eye on them because you never know. It's going to be, you know, a bunch of people trying to meme them into existence. May not necessarily be the ones to trust. So let's give them a few games, shall we? Is Keen here just trying to engage onto Rich on the bottom side, and this is kind of what we were expecting. As Rich is like, well, now it doesn't matter about what happens in the lane because I'm just a big tanky Gragas who's going to wander after you, take a drink, get a whole bunch of health back. Dokdam's coming down. Killer Instinct comes on in, like you say. And Keen, he's got a Killer Instinct of his own. He can go golden, stuff like that. He's wasting a bit of time. But it's pretty inevitable, Valdez.
Yeah, pretty straightforward there. They say say that Afreeca, okay, they're not just going to run down the Baron. They don't have the best Baron damage right now. Orianna, Olaf's okay, Samiro's okay, right? It's decent, but like 4v5, they're not just going to run at the Baron. So I like the call there from Nongshim to just go ahead and look for a gank down there. Rich had teleport, so even if it came down to it, it's like, okay, you don't have Duckdom, but you could still potentially fight a 4v4 where you're ahead. You're scaling better, and the enemy is taking damage from Baron, so great call there. And that's right before we have this Mountain Drake fight here. Potentially Mountain Soul for Nongshim. And, you know, I mentioned the last fight, if Nongshim get that one, they're in an amazing spot to win this game. They're already there, and if they get the Mountain Soul, we can kind of just, you know, Fat Lady will be singing there, Atlas. There's no hope. Nobody can stop her.
I think I know what my first line is in my letter home to me mom.
Afreeca Lost in the late game again.
I almost believed in Afreeca, Mom. That's what I'm gonna say. But instead, you know, sometimes the stats don't lie, and this time around, our statisticians are feeling like they're gods, having built that really cool graph. As the abduct comes down, Keen's trying to make me a disbeliever. He's got himself an unbreakable will, and this is absolutely who Keen is as a player, is this ability's name. He has an unbreakable will. He continues trying to the best of his ability as Afreeca have started off this Drake. They're desperate to deny the soul. And we'll see whether Peanut can get into position. He absolutely can. There's the barrel back onto Keen as a fight on a couple of fronts here. Shockwave comes down. It is going to be the denial of the soul. And now we'll see whether Afreeca can actually win the fight as well. Good flash out there from Bay is going to avoid a bit of it as now the Phalanx has been rebuilt. Docdom trying to get the free hitting down. As the ball comes through, Rich now in a little bit of trouble. We don't have a Shockwave available anymore though. And it looks like it's a gentleman's agreement. Or is it going to be Afreeca corralled up their bottom lane? There is a teleport coming on forward from Bay, but going to take a bit too long.
Yeah, not going to actually amount to much. And Afreeca, they get away with highway robbery. They get in and get out, nobody dies, and they get the Drake. So, nicely done there. The timing on the smite this time not there for Peanut, even though he is fantastic at the smites, as we know. And we'll take another look at this. You know, we kind of got Rich versus Peanut on the top side, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Two junglers not able to get on in there. Really great timing on the smite from Dread this time around. And then everybody's kind of in the corner, but Duckdom is zoned out. They had to Zhonya's. Peanut is pretty low, so he can't get in there and get in the forward, you know, the front line and actually do his burst damage as the Graves. So everybody kind of just, you know, walks away from that one. They walk away from the explosion of the Drake, and nobody gets hurt on the side of Afreeca. And, you know, the game is coming along, and Nongshim are kind of scaling out of control at this point. 30 minutes in, but getting a Mountain Drake and denying that Mountain Soul at least keeps Afreeca's hopes alive in this game.
Yeah, this buys them another 5 minutes, Valdez, what it feels like. They have to do it again, though, which is the scary part. Because now Dread, he's running pretty quickly, looking to try and escape from this one. Looking to get over onto Peanut here. He does have at least his 2 core items completed. It's definitely good news. A bunch of extra armor built up as well as that Warden's Mail has come through.
Look at our statisticians up there, the gold difference from 20 to 30.
Yeah.
The slow decrease and decline for Afreeca.
You could imagine they're just feeling real good about themselves right now. I'm really happy for them. We'll see whether Afreeca can make them feel unhappy. They can steal away a victory here, but as the game goes on, like you were saying, I mean, the scaling from Nongshim, this composition just plays so well front to back as well. So many threats with Peanut, Bay, and Docdom all very, very strong and do a lot of damage. I'm not going to commit to the Baron, though.
Yeah.
Lehens?
Lehens?
Are you okay?
Okay. He's going to get out of there. Yeah, the thing is that, you know, Nongshim have tons of scaling and they have this great late game team composition. Afreeca do have ways to win team fights even in the late game. They have some pretty decent wombo combo that you mentioned in the pick ban, right? You've got Rakan, Orianna. You have potential casks that even get in there. And Samira's in the late game. You can never really count them out, right? We saw T1 versus KT Game 3. We were actually going over some of that earlier today, filming some of the POG state. And
ooh, spoilers.
Yeah, some spoilers there. But Samira in the late game can really do some fun stuff. And if they get Wombo combo and Bang shows up at the right time, anything is possible. You know, I don't care how fed your Kai'Sa is if she just gets 100 to 0'd, right? So
yeah,
Nongshim still have to give respect to what Afreeca have in their composition. It's not just going to be like, oh, we're so far ahead, we have the better late game comp, we're just going to roll you. Like, that's not really the situation in this game. And I do like that Nongshim are taking it pretty slowly and safely, rather than just, you know, throwing caution to the wind, because one lost team fight, if you lose enough people, you could just lose the game this late on in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So we're approaching 33 minutes, and you're right, we're getting towards that win one team fight, win the game type scenario. There are a lot of structures to get through, but they're going to get through them pretty quickly with the composition that they have, especially like you were talking about. I mean, Bang does a lot of damage. They should be able to cut through it. And yeah, I think he is going to be a threat that they need to watch out for. He does need to pay attention to Explosive Cask, Body Slam, Emperor's Divide, and Pulverize and Headbutt before he can really do anything. That's the thing that becomes really, really difficult, because Yeah, there's a lot for Samira to keep her eyes on in these team fights, and Nongshim haven't been messing around with how they've been playing them either. I feel like they have been certainly doing very, very well in that regard, so we'll see whether they can continue to do so. 27 seconds until this Mountain Drake. It's going to be a big moment. Can Dread get to a soul point for themselves? As in goes Doctarm. They want to just get rid of the jungler already. Sterix has been popped. Conquering Sands not going to do too much. Is now Nongshim. He gets some pretty solid positioning around this area. Dread, very low on health. He's going to be relying on that one Ocean Drake, Valdez. The value.
Yeah, you know, Olaf, it's certainly possible if you can find something to hit. Here comes Keen on the back line. This is going to be a really nice flank from him.
A Chain Lash doing a lot of damage, actually, as Nongshim getting poked down. Keen, great positioning like you were talking about. The orb needs to be respected, though, as Fly. Let's see what he can do. Oh my god, the quickness. So good out of the hands. Everyone's going golden. But Doctarm's free hitting the Samira. Taken away first. That's a double kill already. Almost the triple as the Kaiser eventually gets taken down. Now Peanut trying to get over that wall as Keen once again trolled by the same position on the map. And Rich, look at this guy. He's a monster. He just doesn't get moved. Doesn't lose his health. Now doesn't have a lot of mana left, so I guess, you know, can't take another drink as Peanut looking to try and at least solidify this Mountain Soul, but Keen doesn't want to let him. There's a Cow moving around from the side. We'll see whether this 1 versus 3 is actually going to be possible, as Kellen's actually going to Hex Splash over. Looks like the 4 is going to get set up. Bay's in the area. He just teleported back. He's got full health, full mana, so this is going to be a guaranteed Mountain Soul. And Nongshim taking a big advantage in this game, despite it only being 400 gold the difference.
Yeah, wow. This is some pretty crazy survivability, I suppose, on the Sylas. So we got to break down this pretty crazy fight. Nongshim felt forced into fighting here. They wanted to fight north, and Lahen's waits for that exact right moment. And the engage looks perfect, right? You're like, oh, wow. They're going to get so much damage. But Nongshim gets a lot of value. Or Nongshim. Duckdom is able to get a lot of value over the wall there. And as you mentioned, because Samira just dies in the beginning, that's a lot of their late game sustained damage just immediately gone. And if you can just combo down the Samira just like that, then you're going to be in a good spot as Nongshim. You have so many threats in the late game. Now, Keen is a bit of a bully, as we have noticed. You know, he doesn't necessarily die. He's actually being a big pest, and we'll see if he can do anything here in this late game.
Well, collateral damage to soften them up. There's a big barrel in as well as Afreeca. All of them down to about half health as Nongshim. They've got the Mountain Shield. They're feeling actually real happy here as there is the hijacked cask to do a bit back as well. Not actually so much damage, though, that they need to be too worried. Now Afreeca moving back towards the area. Looks like a bit of a stalemate around this Baron buff at the moment.
Just fighting over wards at this point in time. It does look like Nongshim effectively stopped the Baron, but they couldn't just start it themselves. Keen once again kind of being the regulator on the Rift, if you will. It has been the slow and steady increase in favor of Nongshim here. And now they do have the Mountain Soul, so if they can find any kind of engage, I think you just immediately take it. 36, 37 minutes into this game with the comp that they have. And they've also made it very obvious to everybody that Dread does not have Flash, by the way. You know, it's like, yeah, they find him, they immediately get on him. They don't really care about Ragnarok because Duckdom can just fly in from any angle like he did. And they were able to chip him down really nicely before that Drake fight even began, as Peanut's in a little bit of a wonky spot, but no follow-up from Afreeca just yet.
Yep, of course, Lahen's can travel a great distance with his grand entrance, so not able to actually quite get in there, and of course he doesn't do any damage himself, as Rich just takes the front line here, of course, for Nongshim. He is a bit of a brick wall. We're going to see whether he can corral Afreeca to a position that they like as Sundisk goes up. Nongshim going to make that lane very, very short as Afreeca are looking to try and get him behind it. Okay. Keen once again finds himself an Unbreakable Will. Like I said, certainly a big favorite for a lot of these Sylases. Allows them to live a lot longer as Keen now hops onto this Baron once again. Double blue trinkets going to be utilized onto it. So maybe a bit of a miscommunication as in goes Keen. Peanut takes a lot of damage here as Kellen has his own unbreakable will. Peanut just getting closed in on, and Keen is going to lock down that kill. The quickness from Lehens. Can he actually get in there to actually do some sort of CC as Bang grabs a kill, grabs a second. This is the danger of the Samira like you were talking about as Dr. Under the sun disc, but is he actually going to be okay? As Bang's decided to take this match into his own hands, dashing in and out, gets another reset. Dr. going to be going down. That's going to be another one. And Afreeca, they may have just done it. Just had to wait until 38 minutes to get the work finished.
I can't believe they actually made this work. 38 minutes in, they actually take a team fight, and you can see Peanut is feeling unhappy with that one. Afreeca, they look so willing to pull the trigger onto anyone that stepped in, and they find one member and immediately just blow him up. Enough damage in their comp to go for it. Another fantastic engage will go the way of Keen. He's certainly going to be my player of the game.
Yeah, Keen's an absolute monster. If he doesn't get 9 votes, I'm going to be extraordinarily upset. As there goes the Nexus. Afreeca are going to do not what the statisticians expected and take down a victory after throwing it. It was what it felt like at around the 20-minute mark. Didn't quite find what they wanted. They lost the Mountain Drake soul, and it felt like Nongshim had things under control, but not actually able to get it done in that last team fight. The Samira value was massive. Coordination very, very strong out of Afreeca. You could see they just stayed together, made sure they had identified key moments, and like you said, Keen just so good from start to finish that game. Slaughtered the lane and was then basically unkillable, even though he built pretty much full damage.
Just Silas things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Making that pick look pretty decent, actually, as Duckdom is like, how the hell did we lose that, guys? You can see it on his face. He's just looking around. He's like, what happened? And we'll be able to break down that team fight. I would imagine that production will give us a nice little replay to take a look at before we do go to a break. I feel like that would be pretty nice to take a look at. Not sure if we will, but hopefully we do, because that was really all it came down to. Just one team fight that went the way of Nongshim, or rather Afreeca. And it didn't matter what the comps were. It didn't matter what kind of damage they have, because like I was saying before, if you can take away 1 or 2 threats without much recourse from the side of Nongshim, you can still win the game. Like, anything is possible with the comp that Afreeca have. They have some nice wombo combo and pick, and they just utilized it and played it much better in the late game there. They found their moment and they pounced. And props to them. You know, it wasn't looking so great, but
no, not at all.
They, you know, a win's a win, and they got it done there, no matter how late in the game that was.
We take those, Valdez, is I think what they're going to say after that one, because as long as it says W at the end, you're going to be feeling pretty good about it. That being said, Afreeca certainly still some things to tidy up, and I think that, you know, as soon as they learn how to play the mid game properly, this is going to be a dominant team, but unfortunately, it just hasn't happened just yet. I have to applaud the fact that Keen can still do this. You know, it's like, it's been so many years that he's been this one guy on this Afreeca squad that I feel like the unbreakable will is just, it's just too poignant for what Keen represents for Afreeca.
Yeah, it's pretty nice in the late game as well, because it just gives you so much staying power. Like, you're going to do consistent damage anyway. You've bought yourself a Leandries as well. And I think he also had Zhonya's on top of everything else. Like, you're just not killing that Silas. And this post-game damage graph is going to say everything you need to know about this game, essentially. Down to the gold difference as well. I mean, this is just one team fight and a win, and Keen did insane amounts of damage.
32.2k, over double the next highest on the team, which was the Olaf. Yep, that absolutely sums it up. So if he doesn't get the 9 out of 9, once again, just gonna say that I'm gonna be very, very upset. I'm gonna have some stern words to whoever is making those votes. Of course, on last year's POG State, we did learn about who was doing a lot of the voting on the China broadcast side, so we'll be able to identify that one, and we know everybody else, so we'll be after them. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, it will be the analyst desk, that POG vote, and then game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
나 밀려났어 이거.
알리 좀 빠지고 들어갈게.
깊기는 해.
가자 천천히 보자.
야, 이거 아지로 볼게.
아지로 볼게봐.
아지로 먼저 또 볼게.
우리 봐줄게. 알아서 할게.
야, 아래 그라이트. 야, 이거 이대줘.
나 초식에 있긴 해. 오케이.
에, 카이사 맞아, 카이사.
카이사 뛰었어 얘들아. 카이사 뛰었어.
야, 이거 끝낼 생각 하자.
끝내자. 이거 끝내만 할것 같은데.
끝내.
할만해.
끝내. 우리 풀이 있는 애들이 그브만 한번 죽이면 되거든.
탱해봐.
내가 탱할게. 나 계속 공 달아줘. 내가 그거 막 할 테니까 그냥 끝내줘. 야 몸대.
아, 이거 사이드 너무 사기겠다. 고마워. 잘했어.
그냥 몸대.
타워 왼쪽부터.
나 타워 탱이다.
야, 끝내자. 빨리 한 번만 더. 예, 잘 오면 안 돼.
아 내가 너무 못했다.
나도 너무. 아니, 근데 이거.
I want it now and I ain't never gonna back down. I want it now and I ain't never gonna back down. I want it now and I ain't never gonna back down. I want it now and I ain't never gonna
They
back
have to go for an equalizer down. They're going to try and steal it. Oh! Stolen! OMG, get it! The shockwave just hit nothing, and they're going to try and take this fight as well. They are caught in the back of this pit. So you can see Bright going in with the flame spinner, trying his very, very best. But Cryin is still alive. Wilmington TV on the backside. It is not going to be enough, but Cryin is going to pentakill OMG after a fantastic steal.
I gotta solve it straight to the top. I can't see myself falling. I gotta grab it. There's no time for stalling. Number one stunner don't have other options. Now I'm fired up. I'm sorry, brother, your time's up. I see the top and I climb up. I came from the ashes, I rise up.
The bubble sleeps on Niski and the paddle star won't find the target. Tio goes forward with a smite. That's a golden Niski. Battle star goes golden as Selfmade runs away.
They get another one. Look at him. BTO goes in. He gets the bubble to double kill. Great job from the rookie in the mid lane.
What was
And
that?
I ain't never gonna back down.
TSM focusing on the Scuttle Crab here as it is closer to their players, so they'll secure that extra bit of control. Drake down to half HP, but in the middle of resetting. TSM continuing to walk forward. Cloud9's ready to go. Vulcan coming in. Beautiful three-man knock-up and 3 flashes instantly to get themselves away. Sword Art still dies. Sven takes the kill, and Cloud9, baby. They are getting things done here in this early game.
It's critical. It's time to finish you. I don't care who I just did it to. I want it now, I gotta rise up.
Ele toma muito dano, mas não é eliminado. O Freecs não faz a entrada, então o Vigo vai levando a torre pelo meio do mapa. Caiu aquela T2 e o time da Red quer mais, quer T2 aqui na parte inferior. O engage é feito, jogou lá na frente, faz um limite absurdo, ele não caiu, só agora eliminado. Essa Jean!
I want it now, I want it now, and I ain't never gonna back down.
As Kingen goes golden as well. Underneath the turret, Rich is still very low, but it looks like Kingen will be dying. Even though it does take a little while, he will go down. As Bao's going to get ulted, now trying to get that S rank, and he gets it. Massive damage, Tidies above Quadra in a second. Damage, Tidies above Quadra in a second.
Nongshim RedForce versus Afreeca Freecs to the start of the Friday of the LCK, and they will be joined by Tong and Lee, Gorilla, and Kuro.
안녕하세요. 고릴라 강보면입니다. 반갑습니다.
And this is Susan with the live translation.
Today,
We are actually seeing a counterpiece of both teams. So Nongshim, they are always so strong in the late game, whereas Afreeca Freecs, they always manage to get the early game priority. And Afreeca Freecs was able to get the game with that one final team fight around the Baron. Afreeca Freecs this time around, they were trying to get some late game priority picks in order to cope with their problem in the late game decision making. We are keep mentioning that Afreeca Freecs is trying to show some style shift in the LCK. So we saw AD jungler here in the Afreeca Freecs side. So Olaf was locked in order to open more space for Sylas to come in on the top lane. I think Sylas was a very critical pick for Afreeca Freecs to lock down their victory today. Samira and Rakan, but they were actually having a hard time due to the matchup up against Alistar and Kai'Sa, but they were able to do more work in the final team fight. In addition to that, they also gave Flight his favorite pick, Orianna. And I think he found a new friend, Azir. He was popping off on this champion from the laning phase until the team fight. So Nongshim, they did manage to get some lead in the mid game, but in the end, they were not able to stop Keen on that Sylas pick. So props over to Afreeca to finding that balance between jungle and top, the AD AP damage balance. And let's take a look how Keen got so ahead in the beginning. Azir was pushing the wave, so he was able to place the ward on the Raptor camp. They knew where Olaf was. Nongshim had this information that Olaf was passing towards the top. And we can see even a ping goes down onto the Golem camp, indicating that Dread was in a very close proximity to the top lane. However, Rich kept playing aggressively. He went for a very risky trade using his body slam. So that was a huge mistake coming out from Gragas, because that ended up his first death, and that's where he started to lose his priority. Nongshim RedForce, they did not start on a good spot, and once again they were able to ramp up at the 25-minute mark. And we want to take a look at the carries on the side of Nongshim RedForce, Dokdam and Bae. Afreeca did win this game, but let's take a look at highlight where Nongshim actually picked up the huge victory. We saw a fantastic initiation coming out from Rakan. But at the same time, as Nongshim walked to the upper hand side in order to secure the dragon, Rakan was able to find a beautiful engage, but Dokdam actually was very quick reacting to that combo, and also he also had stopwatch to juggle all the aggro. But not only Dokdam but also Bae, he was doing a lot of work on the Orianna, so he was actually drawing Orianna in, even forcing her to flash in order to lock down the kill of a low HP Azir, but he was able to survive. So we saw a fantastic kind of a aggro juggling coming out from Bae as well. So I think we have to keep our eyes on Dokdam and Bae duo, the carry liners on the side of Nongshim RedForce. But today Nongshim and Afreeca Freecs were both showing a great performance, and it's glad to see Afreeca Freecs breaking that 25-minute curse, and Keen is picking up the POG on Sylas. We saw the reason why Sylas was the last pick coming out from Afreeca Freecs. And also, Sylas is not a strong champion in the early stage, but he was able to actually get ahead in the beginning and also exert his pressure all around the map in the late game. And as the casters mentioned, you know, a lot of Sylas players actually say if you have Alistar on your opponent, actually you become unbreakable, because he gets to get so many kind of armor and also magic resistance with that hijacked ultimate. In the mic check, we could hear in the end Bang even saying thank you Keen as they were breaking down the enemy nexus, and well deserved thank you going over to Keen, because he did indeed carry the game. In some of the team fights where Afreeca couldn't have Silas for coming in, they actually were a little bit behind, but they were able to get things done with the Silas coming in. Unanimous vote going over to Keen. So let's find out if Afreeca Freecs pick up another victory to uncuff their losing streak.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, as per usual, for the absolutely glorious translation. Time after time, just extraordinary. And Valdez, here we are, back for game number 2. We'll see whether Afreeca can do it once again. As, thankfully we're not on screen. I had a big cat problem, but it's fine. He has vacated the area, and now we're ready to focus on what can be a very exciting one. Let's see whether Nongshim RedForce can actually strike back after that tough loss.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope so. They were in a pretty good spot in that game. Just that last team fight for them was an absolute disaster, and I think that Keen just kind of showed why he is still the main carry of this Afreeca roster. And you can see over here on the side of Nongshim still discussing everything, talking with the coaches, talking with each other about what they do want to do. Peanut, unfortunately, one of those guys that did get caught out around the Baron pit, him and Bay, just totally isolated from any kind of front line that they had, and that's exactly how you're going to eke out a win in a team fight like that in the scenario that they were in. So props to Afreeca for finding a way, but things need to be a bit more locked down from both sides, I would say. Afreeca just letting a lead slip away in the mid-game as well is not ideal, and we'll see if they can do a bit better here on blue.
Yeah, the Azir actually going to get looked at here. Is Bay going to have to switch up which mid laner he's going to be playing?
Yeah, I wonder how many bans they're going to use here against good old Bay. Certainly they've identified that his champion pool is not that deep.
Yeah.
That Rich's also used to be not that deep. I feel like he has expanded a bit more.
Yeah, I think Rich's champion pool isn't his problem. It's now his early laning that really is standing out as a bit of an issue. And not even necessarily mechanically. It's more about his decision-making on when he's pushing. It's just a bit of just mindless shoving at the moment, which isn't really working out for them. But I'm sure he'll get there, as the Graves and Aphelios going to be the follow-up bans here from Afreeca. I do like Aphelios bans on the blue side, meaning that Aphelios Thresh not able to actually come in paired up together. Renekton going to continue to get banned out of the way here, as Talia is an obvious one alongside the Seraphine. Lahen's just unfortunately never going to get to play that one again. It feels like the second coming of the Lahen's Yuumi. It's just it's just not happening. It's just always seems to be one permaban against him. As Dread going to run back the Olaf once again, if you were listening to Gorilla having a chat about that one. Yeah, definitely something that has been a little bit different for Dread. He has liked to stick to more of the AP junglers so far.
And I mean, I understand that Dread is a great Olaf player, but you're giving away Orianna Kai'Sa, and I don't really agree with that. At the end of the day, you give Bay his best champ, you ban away Azir for seemingly no reason, and I mean, you're just giving away Kai'Sa, who is just massive right now in terms of tier list first pick potential. I think absolutely you take that over the Olaf. I suppose they didn't want to give away Orianna Olaf, but I don't know. I feel like Nongshim get the better here of the pick bans starting off.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Fly going to head towards a Victor, just going to try and neutralize that mid matchup, as he also unfocuses his camera, which is absolutely fine. Doesn't need to be worrying about that. Needs to have his head in the game. Absolutely going to do that. As Samira going to be locked in once again here for Bang. And Bay probably just going to take away the Alistair here. No need to show any more after already sort of giving away that mid matchup. Not going to worry about that one. And then Keen versus Rich is going to be what we're focusing on, I believe, in the second portion of the bans. Outside of this Rel pick that I was expecting to be on the ban list for Nongshim, but instead they're going to pick it up and pair it alongside the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, it's good with the Kai'Sa, it's good with the Orianna. Nice wombo combo already. Great team fighting starting off here for Nongshim. Really like what they've built so far. The Rakan ban, I feel like, I don't know, the Rakan had that one nice engage, but other than that, felt a little bit lackluster, to be honest. But they're still going to respect it. Lahens did play a decent Rakan, so they take that off the board. And no Jace here for Rich, as they will look to focus his champion pool down a bit.
Yep, we'll see whether the Aatrox is also going to be taken away. Of course, they do like to wait and get a decent counter option for Rich, and if there's ever an opportunity to pick up an Aatrox, they will. It is absolutely true, as the Alistair is going to be the follow-up ban here. Lehens certainly has a very deep and eclectic champion pool, still waiting to see his Elise support again in 2021.
Maybe a Shen, you know?
Yeah.
Pick up the Shen, go with the Olaf. It's kind of like you get your own shield and delivery system. You can create a lot of room for the victor.
Would like to see it.
If you did go for it.
Well, Peanut gonna have to make a different decision here. Is Nidalee is available. Doesn't pair fantastically well with the Orianna, despite the fact that we see it quite a lot. We'll rely on Rich having a bit of hard CC there towards the top side of the map, but we're likely to see a jungle pickup. As
Udyr?
oh,
I was gonna say it. I was gonna say it. You know, it works really well with the Orianna. We've seen it so many times, and he is going to lock it in. And oh man, I do kind of like it, to be honest. Into this, we've seen a lot of Udyrs fall flat on their face, so I'll reserve some judgment until we see how it is played. There's a lot of times where Udyr just kind of runs around the map farming and then does nothing, and it kind of just ends up being like a worse version of Olaf, but we'll see if Peanut can show that off here a little bit. Now, you're leaving up Gnar. Could have picked that for yourself if you wanted to get that kind of a blind pick for Rich into the top lane, but that does mean that Keen is going to have it, and we've seen what Gnars in the hands of great top laners can do already in the LCK, so that is a bit scary, I'd say, for Nongshim.
I'd say so too, and they're surrounding this Samira with so much CC. Like, this is crazy. And now the Nautilus to come through as well, something that Lehens has been very, very good at. Of course, Effort is sort of our premier Nautilus player, but Lehens is, of course, no stranger to it either. As now, Rich, what's going to be his answer? This is certainly one that he carried on a lot, especially in Challenger. He didn't really bust out the Gangplank so much in the LCK last year, but beforehand, it was definitely in his wheelhouse, and this is another great pick into the Gnar. Gnar being blind picked is something that we used to talk about, but now it just happens so often that we're just going to get upset if we talk about it too much. So we like to sort of leave it, but this is another one of those fantastic picks into the Gnar, and we'll have to see some real heroics from Keen.
We absolutely will, and he's already shown that he's on his game tonight, it does appear. He and Dread had some really great synergy up in the top side. We'll see if maybe they can get that going once again. I mean, Gangplank can be pretty annoying, though, in the early game, so it's going to look very different from what we saw compared to the Sylas versus Gragas lane up in the top side. Mid lane should just be kind of a farm fest, as should be the jungle. I don't imagine we're going to see too much action between those two. Udyr's going to be farming, Olaf is going to be farming. Maybe if one side decides they want to invade into Raptors or something, maybe we'll get some action. But other than that, once again, it's kind of like, how is the top lane going to go? And the bottom lane is extremely important. Last time around, DuckDom and Kellen got the better of them eventually, but they still went on to lose. So we'll see how this time it does turn around, Atlas.
Yeah, and I think early laning phase definitely went in favor of Bang and Lehens. They were able to get a lot of work done. Very different matchups this time around, despite the fact that our marksmen have stayed the same. The Nautilus plus the Rel is going to change things up just a little bit. We'll just have to see how it is going to go. I don't mind Dredgeline into the Crashdown. Can actually work very, very well to try and at least stop some of that early aggression. We'll see how Lehens is going to play this one out as we hop onto the Rift for game number 2. Skybox looking absolutely beautiful here as well, although it is a bit of a cloudy day, which is making me a little bit worried, despite the... Oh, no, never mind. Not worried at all. First straight going to be a cloud. Easy peasy.
There you go.
Safe.
We had some snow, apparently, in Seoul. I don't know if you got to see any of that.
I had none. It was sunny.
So...
It was sunny where I was. Actually, I saw Tasteless. He, like, put a post on Instagram, and it was just snowing everywhere. And I didn't get one little bit. It was like blue skies as far as the eye could see. It was very cold, but I just didn't have any snow. It was so sad.
It was pouring down in some of those videos that I watched, but I don't know. I actually didn't even look out the window yesterday, to be honest. I was casting, and I woke up pretty late, so I was just kind of like, okay. Don't really know what's going on outside. It's just kind of the definition of gamer life, I feel, during these Corona times. And I you know, I was curious if you had any other information
Nope.
about what may have been going on with the weather.
It snowed a couple of days ago, and then all of the rain came and just washed it all away, which made me sad as well. And I sort of missed out. I went out, I'm like, yay, snow! And then it was just raining. And I was like, oh, dang it, I missed my window. And every window is really important for an Australian in the Northern Hemisphere where snow exists, you know? I get very, very excited about the possibility of snow. That's the reason why, you know, winter is so cool here in Korea, but unfortunately, whenever I miss a snow window, I'm very upset as Crashdown comes through. Towards the bottom side of the map, Lahens and Kellen both utilizing their Aftershock very effectively, and neither of them going to take too much. But I guess potion advantage going over to Nongshim.
I suppose so. Little win there, of course, but level 2 is going to be hit here by Bang and Lahens. Kellen's doing a little bit of a dance, but he is going to have to evacuate the dance floor.
Whoa.
He is going to lose level 2 here in favor of Bang, but that's okay. Looks like they've got those health bars all lined up, and Lahens, he was thinking about it. Here we go.
All right, yeah. May as well move on up. We'll see whether they can get base flash. Not going to be able to. He's just going to walk his way out. And Fly just going to continue holding onto this minion wave towards his side of the rift. Things are pretty controlled right now for the Victor. And certainly has been a decent series for Fly. I feel like whenever there's a mid laner that is even slightly like equal or behind Fly's perceived skill level, he crushes them. I think it might be like a confidence issue for Fly in a lot of ways with how he plays, because often like when he's seen as absent as, oh god, that hurt my soul. Oh no.
Yeah, and it looked pretty decent too when he threw out the auto.
Yeah, man.
Maybe. And then his auto did like half the damage I thought it was going to do.
Well,
still very early on in the game, I guess.
I think we were talking about Fly or something like that. I've completely lost my train of thought as that cannon just got... Oh.
Maybe a confidence issue?
Yep.
In the mid lane?
I'll be back next game.
Not sure. Yeah. Solo cast begins now.
I won't do that to you. I know how it feels. As Kellen throws out a Q, not going to be really doing too much with it. As Lahens and Bang continuing to shove, this is exactly how they've been playing it. Although the CS margin, nothing really to worry about here for Dr. whatsoever. Dread in his referee outfit, just heading towards this Gromp, and I'm expecting Dread to spend a fair bit of time on the top side of the map. I think that Rich needs to be taken care of as Lahens. Not going to be clearing out that ward anytime soon as Flash forward. That's a great dredge line for Lahens, though, and that's going to say absolutely not to anything. Not even having to flash. Everything's fine.
Yeah, and max range dredge line means that the flash from Kellen just looks silly. Not really amounting to too much. I mean, Lahens still has his flash, so... Probably some aggressive calls, I would say, from this team to get something going, but that was not really it, you know? That wasn't, that's not what you were looking for in that scenario.
No.
You talked about the amount of CC. Nautilus is going to be pretty annoying to get through, certainly for Nongshim. They have some pretty nice frontline damage, but you've got him, you've got Gnar, you've got Olaf running at you. It's going to be a lot of things in the front line here to make some room for Fly and Bang, and hope they have enough damage with those two.
Ooh, Lahens going to eat through a fair bit of his mana here with that dredge line that did miss. Might mean that Dread does need to leave, but no, this is Dread. He loves setting up these tents. He's an expert. Read all of the manuals. Knows exactly where all of the poles go. Has it all figured out. And he's really set up. I think he's built the kitchen sink now as well. Because in comes Peanut. Dread's finally going to pull the trigger as Undertow comes down. Kellen fully committing to this one as the Blade Wall gets a little bit of value as Kellen will be taken down for first blood. They're going to continue this as now Peanut's in trouble. The dash forward from Bang. There's the reset. Missed positions a little as Dr. I'm going to take a few autos, but otherwise not too much to worry about. And Afreeca going to move towards the Drake now as well. This is another fantastic start for Afreeca, but don't be fooled, guys. This doesn't mean everything.
Yeah, well, you know, it is just the Cloud Drake, but more importantly, the first blood and the 2 kills that do go on to the Olaf. He is going to be quite the threat. And I feel like the jungle is kind of just over from here on out, you know. Dread is going to be having a really fun time. He takes the Ghost once again, and that allows him to just stick onto them. Not that he had to do much sticking, because Nongshim kind of just threw themselves and the kitchen sink at Afreeca and hoped it would be enough, and it was absolutely not enough.
Yeah, that's because Dread had already set up the kitchen sink in the bottom lane, man. He was the one that was patient, able to get the work done.
Yeah. I just want to see that replay. Like, I want to see like what they were hitting and how they seemingly did 0 damage. You know, Dread got pretty low, so it wasn't negative damage, but it felt like it was very effectively tanked up, and Kellen just not really having nearly enough tankiness comparatively. So we are going to take a look at the replay, as you'll note that Afreeca get the engage going, and they dump a ton of their damage to Kellen before Peanut's even there. So Peanut, he's desperately trying to hit on to Dread. He does a bit of damage, but then he gets knocked up by Lehen, so they take a lot of his damage away. Kaisa, at this point in the game, she's like a couple autos and a Q. So like,
yeah,
she doesn't do much, especially once Dread just hides behind his allies. And getting the jump there was really the most important part. You know, they flashed onto Kellen, who didn't have his flash, so he had to go in, but he had already taken half his health bar in damage. So that's just, you know, getting the jump, doing a bunch more damage on the side of Afreeca. And now they're up about 1,000 gold. So feeling pretty good about their early game once again.
Well, Peanut gets the bad news. His Krugs have been stolen away. Dread puts himself down a control ward and is going to head back and try and ruin Peanut's day. Ooh, starts off the red buff though, and Peanut's lying in wait, knows exactly what's up. Rich having a bit of control of the top side, but the crash of the minion wave is well timed from Keen, and Peanut's just gonna have to let this one go. Afreeca taking absolute control of the jungle, and that's precisely not what Anudia wants. He needs to be getting around and getting all those camps, getting towards the chem tank as fast as possible.
Yeah. As you mentioned, the timing was just pristine. Even Meganar available for Keen as that was coming in. Now, Peanut is thinking about making some waves down on the bottom side. He says, well, you can take my red, but I'll take your red. Meanwhile, Afreeca is rotating in to try to stop this as the Rift Herald is going the way of Afreeca.
I love this response. Dredgeline going to miss, though, as the Attract Repel comes down, and Bang says, nope, I don't want anything to do with this. Peanut's going to get the smite down as there's the ulti out of the gangplank as well. Lehen's taking so much damage. Bladewell almost keeps him alive, but it's not enough. And Kellen going to be able to waddle out of there. Extraordinary. Turn your clothes back into a horse. Going way too slow.
Yeah. Dread is up here, though, on the top side. He's looking to trade it back. You know, always look for other trades on the other side of the map if you possibly can.
Well, there's the Nara into the wall, and this is a very dead gangplank. Elementary, my dear Watson. That's it's about that gang.
Oh, he has the Rift Herald too. Are we gonna see this turret die at 9 minutes into the game? I think they absolutely will be able to take this down. There's like no way for them to stop this. Even with the Bulwark, it's just the Rift Herald damage is gonna be too much. And yeah, I suppose you get a decent trade down on the bottom side, but Afreeca say, welcome to Macro Lands. Easy dive, easy take of the turret, and 9.5 minutes in this game.
Yeah, I think that might have been in the tent manual, was this sick macro at the same time as Bang tidies up some minions there. And I thought that it was going to be Keen having to play some weak side nah, but I'm going to have to hold that thought for a moment as we check out this play once again.
Yeah, it's pretty much just thinking that they could stop it, but a really nice response from Nongshim. They get the Cannon Barrage out there. They use a bunch of ultimates to make this all possible. Bang had hit the S rank, and I thought maybe he was going to go in for that, but decided to play it the safe way and just flash away here. As you mentioned, pretty elementary Keen, as he does knock in to the tower, and then Dread is there to finish it up. He already has Gore Drinker at 10 minutes into the game. Look at the gold that he has and the gold difference in the jungle. At this point in the game, that is gigantic.
Yeah, basically everything just belongs to Afreeca right now. As you can see, Fly gets a little bit of help from Keen. Gonna grab himself a blue buff, and he has a slight advantage there in mid, but it's a bit of a wash over there. Bang as well. I mean, he's down in farm, but those couple of assists will certainly help him out when it comes to some money. And now this is the problem, right? Is Dread has all of the kills, and you might be thinking, oh no, and Olaf has all the kills, this is terrible. But it means that Peanut doesn't get to enter his jungle. Right now, he's looking for the bottom lane, and he has to take the lane way the entire way down. There are no camps to be taken, but Afreeca now have themselves set on this Drake. They should be able to get there. Peanut hasn't actually been spotted making his way in here, As Bang gonna get engaged on, but he just dashes his way out. That's a whole lot of movement over towards the Samira, and she's taken down very, very quickly. Bay's teleported in as well. The Drake is taken here by Afreeca, as now Dread's trying to make his way out of it. Fly comes on forward, but he's shockwaved to death, and that is a kill going over to Dr. Arm, as it's not quite 20 minutes yet, but Afreeca certainly sticking to the script.
Yeah, you know, maybe looking to, you know, jump down the drain a little bit earlier this time around. But just a really nice setup there from Peanut, right? He sneaks down into the bottom side. Afreeca are feeling kind of invincible, right? Because they had 4 members down on the bottom side of the map, and you're thinking, okay, like, we have the priority from the mid lane, we have the jungler down here, he's 3-0. There's no way we're gonna die, right? We're not gonna get ganked, right? But the lane gank was exactly what they needed. As Dread, with the help of Lehen's, gonna get the blue buff once again. Denying that from the Orianna is pretty nice, as here's the replay. And you can see it's pretty straightforward. Even the teleport comes down from Bay, as Lehen's, I believe, does get away at the end there. And Fly doesn't even bother to flash. He does have it available, but he's like, well, I'm not getting away from Udyr.
Yeah, he could have
this fight, so that's over.
Could have probably moved a little bit faster there in order to cut their losses, though. But hindsight, certainly 2020, as Kellen crashes down underneath this turret and should keep himself alive, under toes. Just going to tickle his backside as he makes his way out. And Fly and Dread are just going to continue putting the pressure on. Still a minute on these plates, and we'll see whether Afreeca can get any more of them. Try and extend this gold lead. Currently only about 600. Not too much to worry about, as Rich has his Trinity Force complete. Interesting that he's gone for the Trinity Force. We've seen a lot of Essence Reaver into the Shield Bow be the build that a lot of people go towards. And if you have a look at solo queue and things like that, Divine Sundra is very popular as well. But Rich just kicking it old school with the Trinity Force.
I like what Afreeca are doing here. It's like, well, we're still ahead, so let's try to be as proactive as possible to keep this lead. Now, we do have the teleport and Cannon Barrage available from GP, and with Peanut heading down towards the bottom side, Afreeca will eventually say, okay, we're fine with just the one plate. That will be enough for us. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And a Scuttler there on his way out, so keeping their lead, even though it is a little bit smaller now.
And this time Afreeca do have control of the Drakes as well. They're going to look towards this Ocean Soul as that particular option. Of course, having an Olaf this fed this early on means that Drake control early. Very, very comfortable. But Nongshim still trying to hold on to some sort of vision control around this area. And Bang making his way back to lane. 0, 1, and 2 now, but has his shield bow. Gale Force is done for Dr. Arm. Dr. Arm has still been laning very, very effectively. 0 gold from the plates. 960 going over to Afreeca in comparison to that of Nongshim. So very nicely done plate-wise for the Afreeca Freecs. Most of that, of course, up on the top side of the map, as Keen has been able to pull back what was a very difficult early laning phase for the Gnar, which is just how that matchup goes in a lot of instances.
Yeah, he's keeping up, and with the help of Dread, it's going to be pretty nice for him up there. The bottom lane, a little bit unhappy here for Bang. Did fall behind after getting ganked a couple of times. Remember that they rotated in to try to stop the red steal from Peanut, and Lehen's did get punished for that. So took a little bit of power away from their bottom lane. And now you can feel the effects of this once again, right? Dukdam and Kellen feeling very comfortable ahead in this bottom lane. We're feeling good with the Gale Force available here, as here comes Peanut once again.
Yep, another shockwave comes down, and Fly waits a long time to flash. Does make it to safety in the end, as now Rich struggling at the hands of Keen, as these hyperprocs are huge. The Gnar is buffered a little bit too early, I think, as Rich is able to flash his way out, but it's still a flash for ulti trade, and you'll take that as the Gnar, especially after the early game. Peanut looking to make his way round. Wallop still available there from Keen. That could stop Peanut in his tracks, and Peanut not actually going to go for it here, as you can see, very vocal in the player cams. Not going to be able to find the Gnar.
Keen, you see that he has kind of turned this lane around in a big way. Rich, you know, you can't just walk into lane against an Gnar. You have to go in there with you know, with your fists up, right? You can't go into a boxing ring without blocking your face.
Yeah.
And I feel like he kind of just walked in the lane. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and farm these minions now. And Keen's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm here. I'm gonna harass you. You can't just do that. And I think Rich just saw what's up in that top side. First item, Stride Breaker here available.
Yep.
And being used by Keen to continue with the harass, as that matchup does feel pretty good at this point in time for the Gnar at least. And here's all of this focus onto the Drake. Afreeca going to look to lock down this third Drake of the game.
Ooh, Dredgeline does come in. There's the depth charge as well, used onto Kellen as Peanut going down extraordinarily low and has to vacate the area. That means Drake goes over to Afreeca and they get themselves the Ocean Soul point, which is going to be huge. We'll see whether they can actually transition. Have a look out for whoopsies, ladies and gentlemen, as Afreeca, this is about their time.
Yeah, they're feeling pretty good about this. As you mentioned, the Olaf in the jungle that got so far ahead. Behead? That's
what?
A weird combination of the two.
Beavis head.
Behind and ahead. But yeah, I mean, they have so much control over these objectives. I mean, they got both Rift Heralds and all 3 Drakes. Like, Peanut has just been not able to do anything outside of a couple of ganks on the bottom side. One that was led by Afreeca, and one that was pretty nice, you know, nicely timed from Peanut to kind of get himself back in the game. The problem is you need about 2 or 3 more of those ganks to get on the level that Olaf is right now. So even though he's doing some nice stuff, he still feels a little bit lackluster on the Udyr comparatively, and I don't think that difference is going to go away anytime soon or easily unless they get a couple of good team fights here.
Yeah, certainly looking rough for Nongshim. They do still have a composition that can work as the game goes later, but when you've got Peanut on an Udyr instead of a Graves, it certainly feels a little bit worse. And if the Udyr is going to be going even as far as farm is concerned with a 3-0 Olaf, it is certainly scary times. But it's Peanut. He's still going to be running fast, but maybe I've just caster cursed him. Good 2-man Shockwave comes forward as Bang going to have to flash himself out, but he's not going to be able to do it in time. Dissonance comes through. Now Peanut trying to stop the Olaf, but he's not going to be able to and immediately just leaves. He's like, nope, if I can't boop him, I'm done. And he's going to get out of there. Dread going to do the same thing as the Ghost is popped. And now Fly's going to have to get out as well. He's walking a long way around here. Was thinking about those red dots. But not actually going to walk up to the wave, which is a very intelligent decision. And Bay now is going to try and get some cheeky autos onto this turret. Undertow is going to clear out that siege minion and actually collects the money there as well. So we're not going to be too upset about that.
And I feel like we're just watching the mirrored version of game number 1, right? Where it's like Afreeca get this nice early lead, and then they set up for a play in the enemy red side jungle, and it's just another disaster. You've got so much chemistry between these 3 picks, right? Like we talked about.
Yeah.
The Orianna and the Rel together, there's just so many things that pull everybody together and CC them. Udyr with the ball and the speed up is going to be able to set up some nice plays. And even though they do have the ward down, it's kind of Lahen's connecting that max rank dredge line that gets everybody excited, and we all know that's not a good thing in the LCK, especially if you're a KT fan. You got to be careful about getting excited, and that's what happened to them this time around. You know, they just thought they could get in there easy peasy. I think they didn't notice Bay with the ward. I don't think they had that vision until it was too late. And then, of course, Kellen hops on them immediately as well and makes that into a bit of a 3-on-2. So you gotta be careful about how aggressive you're going here, banging Lahens. It's not like you're ahead in this bottom lane, so you gotta be careful about giving more value back to the enemy team.
Precisely. That being said, that's something that Afreeca have desperately needed to learn this entirety of the season thus far. As I think Bang dashing in immediately as soon as he saw that was a bit of a blood rush to the head. So hopefully he's going to stay a little bit more calm and collected as the game goes on, because he can't really be doing that in those sort of situations, especially when Bay was unaccounted for. So certainly good capitalization there from Nongshim, but some mistakes to be looked out for here from Afreeca as Bang will collect up these minions. And we know that Bang's, late game team fighting is something that isn't really under question. He managed to find one in the first match. That's why we're looking at a 1-0 in favor of Afreeca. But I would like to see some more controlled play, because this is not really allowing the Afreeca fans to breathe any sighs of relief or anything like that. see whether they can tidy it up from here. 21 minutes on the clock.
So, pretty interesting item build I wanted to point out. We have Lord Dominic's Regards is taken here on the Kaisa. Definitely not something you see all the time, but I feel like he's thinking, okay, there's a lot of guys that are really tanky on the side. You know, you talk about the Nautilus, you've got even Dread that's ahead, and then, of course, Keen, who's having a good game so far. It's not very standard, but I suppose it will get value against the majority of the players on the other side, I suppose. Pretty interesting.
Yep, even, you know, Shield Bow on Bang. There's a bit of extra armor to cut through, so I don't mind it. It's definitely a weird second item, as Collector is just so valuable, but that's fine. Not going to judge them too much as Nongshim set up for this Ocean Drake. You can see just sitting on their control ward. All 5 of them jumping out of the brush here. They get a nice little stun, and immediately Lahens is taken down. Magnet Storm in the back line. Bang's trying to dash to safety, but he won't be able to. Dr. Arm finds him. He's got his numbers. Rich taking a lot of damage, but it's just not enough. He's able to just stand in amongst his friends to keep himself alive, as now Fly standing on his own gravity field, but you ain't running away from this guy. Big thumbs up from Peanut, as remember, it was Peanut at the hands of the Udyr before against Pyoshik, and he was the one that had to deal with it. Now he's the one having fun, as Keen's going to be taken down. Big old flash bear stance there from Peanut, demonstrating those sick Udyr mechanics.
Yeah, and Afreeca kind of getting excited once again, but that was a really great opening up on that fight by the side of Nongshim. They're using their composition really well, right? They're sending the Udyr forward. He's got a couple of items, or at least an item and a half in this fight, and he's out of vision here. So he immediately runs around the corner, and Lens is like, oh crap, I can't get away from this guy. He doesn't have flash. There's no way for the Nautilus to get away. You either engage or you die, and he chooses to die. So he goes down immediately. There's no front line. The Samiro dies without doing any damage, and immediately this turns into a 5-on-3, 5-on-2. And you're running down Fly here. You're going to force his flash away. And then Keen, who's about to lose Meganar, says, you know, maybe I can do something onto Bay, but absolutely you're not going to. I mean, everybody's right there. I don't really understand that play. Maybe a little bit of
he wanted to ult
showing up there.
He went to Mininar after the crunch.
Yeah,
a little bit
even with the ults, like, are you even going to kill that?
Oh, no, not at all.
Maybe?
Not at all. Yeah, there's mistakes on top of mistakes, I think, Valdez. Not exactly great news. Well, right now, it's looking like we're booking in for a game number 3, which is exciting, but we'll have to see whether Afreeca can once again turn things around. They still have that Ocean Soul point in their belt. It's 3.5 minutes until that Drake is going to be turning up. Of course, it's 24 minutes into the game, so Baron needs to be thought about. As we've got Sterix now completed for Rich, as in goes Kellen once again, and they do get the Ragnarok out of Dread. Who, buddy, that is not your river. You do not own that one.
Yeah.
It's just going to eat some honey fruit. He'll be fine. As Afreeca certainly feeling like they've lost control of this map almost completely. They do still have a bunch of wards, but they're not exactly in priority areas. And in goes Peanut. He's running real fast. That's the dissonance power, and then the setup with the shockwave is beautiful. The Olaf going to be taken down through the Sterix very easily, and now Kane finds himself off to the side. The barrel's going to slow him down. And remember, he has no flash. He's well and truly dead, and that's going to be a Glock to the head for him as Rich is going to put him down. Lahen's now in the back line as well. He's going to go golden to see his death and will be taken very, very comfortably as well. That was an absolute waste of a stopwatch, if ever I've seen one. As now Fly and Bang, nothing that they can do, and it looks like Nongshim have Baron in their sights.
Yeah, and, you know, people were asking, why do we keep seeing Udyr? What value does this pick have? But you guys get to see it a little bit here. I mean, they're under their turret, but it just does not matter, especially with the Orianna. You put the ball on the Udyr, he gets the stun, and then the shockwave comes through, and the follow-up is very fast from the team. So just able to run pretty much anybody down. And note that they had gotten the Ragnarok out of Dread. And he's so close to his turret, but it just doesn't matter because no Ragnarok, no flash, of course, because he has Ghost and he used it. So he just dies. Like, they have enough lockdown and follow-up after the Udyr stun that if you catch anyone, they're going to die.
Yeah, he just gets free boops, just runs forward and just boops. Unstoppable right now on this Udyr. I absolutely love it. Of course, it was picked in tandem with the Orianna. This is exactly what Nongshim were looking for. It's something that would have been fantastic on Afreeca's side, right? The Olaf is enabled so much by the Orianna, but the same thing can be said for the Udyr. I actually just think it's really smart drafting out of Nongshim. Didn't look like it was going to work too well in the very early stages of the game, but that's just seems to be the Afreeca factor, unfortunately. There is still a chance that they can turn this one, but it's starting to look more and more grueling as this game goes on. As a 4,000 gold lead is one of the largest that we've had so far in this series.
Yeah, it's pretty massive, and our good friend Chronicler here in the chat, he noted something that I had conveniently forgotten about. The first pick, Olaf.
Yeah.
You take the Olaf, he has a great early game, and you gave Orianna Kai'Sa anyway to Nongshim. So it's like, okay, good job here in the early game, guys. Well, now we lost. That's not going to be a good feel, and we see that it doesn't feel great alone.
Yeah.
Note that the Olaf, it's not alongside of Lulu, no Yuumi, no Orianna, which is the most obvious pick that goes in with it nowadays in this meta. It's just alone. It went 3-0, and now it's 3-2. It's doing 0, right? And it's not just the Olaf pick, right? A lot of these team fights have started because Nongshim are just pouncing, and Afreeca are not grouped up, and they're just not ready for the fights. It's like they don't really know how to play against this Udyr, but they better learn fast because they're running out of time now, and you're up against 304 Kai'Sa, 306 Orianna, and they're not feeling too confident, as you can see.
Well, I'm going to call you out, Valdez, because it wasn't Chronicler. That was Old Mate Wolf that threw that one down. Definitely an LCK analyst, but just the wrong one. So we need to give credit where credit is due. Wolf, congratulations, identifying the definitely questionable first pick Olaf. You can understand why, but it's still not a good enough reason, as that's the second Ocean Drake for Nongshim. They have this game in a stranglehold right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point is, you know, it's still fair. And
yeah,
I want to see Afreeca actually fight a fight like on their terms, you know? The last two team fights were just Udyr popped someone, and then Afreeca are going in one by one, and the fights look weird, right? Their team fighting has been part of the problem. They're great in the early game when it's laning phase, when it's Dread running around being aggressive. It's Keen winning his laning phase, and things are great, right? But once it gets to the mid to late game, they just look a little bit disjointed as a team.
Lost.
And we've seen a lot of that here in this game specifically. This is like a great example that I would use if I were their coach, to just say, you know, Peanut's giving you the thumbs up for a reason, guys. Like, you haven't shown him too much good stuff. He's waiting for it.
Well, now they're looking to try and finish off this inhibitor in the mid lane, create as much pressure as they can. There's an outer turret still remaining topside, so a little bit of paperwork to be got done here by Nongshim, but all 5 of them now in this area is Peanut looking to boot on forward. That's going to be the shockwave to pull back Dread. Not even going to use the ulti. Of course, just going to soak a bit of damage there as Keen takes 50% of his health bar in punishment. And they hadn't even committed to any sort of actual engage. We'll be waiting for this shockwave, but now level 16 for Bay. It's going to be up very, very shortly.
I was like, someone please kill that cannon. I was just waiting until the end, like
the anxiety,
a heart attack.
No.
Oh man. Thankfully he got that, because he hasn't gotten much else in this game, unfortunately. Bottom lane has been a bit of a difference in these first couple of games. And let's see if maybe that can turn around in Game 3, because it is looking more and more likely that we are getting to that Game 3 with just how fed the scaling on the side of Nongshim is getting. It's a bit out of hand this time around. And again, you know, you still have potential with a lot of nice engage on the side of Afreeca. You do have a Samira, etc., etc. It's a lot of what I talked about in game number 1. Here we go.
Yeah, that's just going to be an explosion of damage on to Callan, who will be going down, but Docdom gets into the backline, goes golden as well as the Samira, taken down before anything can really happen. Fly trying to deal with Peanut, and now Dread desperately fighting against Bay. Everyone going in golden exactly when they need to. Bay's going to be taken down, though. The dredge line is good out of their hands as it's a double kill for Fly. Are we going to see it again, Valdez? Is Dread going to pick up yet another kill onto Rich? 4 left alive. There's only 1 up, and it's Docdom for Nongshim. No way that he can stop this.
Yeah, so we're really going to have to go back to the replay and show you guys how this happened. Oh, Duckdom's going to get a kill, though.
Fly just going to flash weirdly. He was absolutely terrified about what happened there, and immediately Afreeca are like, well, not going to be doing Baron now.
Oh, boy. Peanut's got a big smile on his face after that one. So, again, like I was saying, you know, they have Poke, they have Samir. There's ways, not Poke, Pick. They have ways to get back in this game. And Duckdom tries to get in, and they take out Bang with the Cannon Barrage. But then Duckdom is just zoned out by the Victor. So he's kind of out of it. Fly does a good job. And note that Keen and Dread are getting so much value on the right side. Even though Rich is desperately trying to do damage, it finally turns out that the Fed Olaf gets some value here in this very wonky team fight, because he could just lifesteal, run away, and do a nice amount of damage. Had the Gnar in the front line, so he was able to just isolate with the Gnar. Very strange flash here. I think he just, like, pressed all of his buttons, like he slammed his hand down on the keyboard as, wow, that's an insane amount of damage on the Bang. I think that was just the Cannon Barrage, maybe a W out of the Kaisa?
Yeah, it was a lot of damage. And look, I don't blame Fly. I'd be terrified as well if just this Kaisa turns up absolutely out of nowhere with 7 items and then just pops me in the face. So no harm, no foul. And Fly is back available once again. Thinking about heading towards another Ocean attempt here for Afreeca as they want to get to that soul as desperately as they can. There is going to be permanent vision in the area for Nongshim if they want to, and this could potentially be a trade for the Baron, which is absolutely not what Afreeca want. But Afreeca setting up in the area. Can they find yet another one of these picks? Vision now going down, Nongshim being much more careful as the orb heads towards Dread. Track to repel. They're trying to set up Peanut for the success, as you can see. And who's he gonna boop? Who's going to... Is he gonna get the balls? He's gonna have to pass it to him here. And now Lehen's going to go in. A lot of damage there onto Rich towards the backside as Red Health Bar is going extraordinarily low. Bang! Once again tries to be a hero, but he's not going to be able to fly. He's going to pick up that mantle. Goes golden at exactly the right time as it's a triple kill for the Olaf somehow. Make it a quadra. He was first picked for a reason, Valdez. It was genius all along.
9-2 now after that fight. The Olaf is the big MVP of this game, apparently. Somehow, some way, in such a crazy fight once again. Both teams just essentially bang their heads together like a couple of sumo wrestlers in this one. Look at it, it's just like fireworks. Everybody's going in, right? You have a massive shockwave. You've got Kellen and Peanut in the back line. But Bay is like kind of zoned out, right? And he misses a lot of that damage. Bang gets blown up, so he doesn't do much, but he does enough. And Duckdom had to go forward because he didn't want to just get isolated. He wanted to get into the fight and actually do nice damage, so he hops forward, but to his demise because he just gets blown up. There's actually a really nice amount of damage when you have Fed Olaf plus Victor Samira, right? So we're here at 34 minutes into the game. You are going to get burst down. You're not very tanky on the Kaisa, so he just goes in and dies, and Bay was mostly zoned away, and that's, again, in these crazy team fights that are just something out of solo queue, I swear.
Yeah.
Dread on the Fed Olaf, he gets a lot of value because it's not just him running away from a very nicely set up team that's in a concave and, you know, is ready to poke at that Olaf and keep him away. He's just getting to run around the rift and do whatever he wants. And finally, we see an Olaf that has some fun. Although,
well, he might stop having fun now as he's going to run really, really quickly. We'll see whether he's actually going to continue starting this fight off as Kellen dives on in. Magnet Storm's there, but he's by himself. Absolutely just dead. And Dread's got a Spirit Visage and a Thornmail. Like, getting through this guy is really, really difficult. And they just learned that lesson, and maybe they learned it too late.
Did you see that shield on Dread? Yeah. That is just ridiculous. Can we nerf that item already? Like, that is not supposed to be allowed.
Sterix is a bit silly.
I think we did see some nerfs on 11.3, but we're still some weeks away from that one. Maybe next week, I'm not sure. But either way, the push now begins with the Baron buff, and Peanut is going on vacation.
Yep, Keen is going to run away. Stridebreaker comes in. Duckdom gets the message, and he's going to head on over as well. Big old hop from Keen, who's still running. The flash forward from Duckdom. Yes, you managed to kill Keen. Congratulations, Nongshim. Your base is in shambles. And it's not over just yet. Dread looking for some of these undertows underneath the turret. There's an early Ragnarok, and Rich is going to get dredged out of the sky and taken down to his Guardian Angel. Now Peanut's going to turn back up with Dr. Arm in tow. He doesn't have Killer Instinct, as a dredge line is fantastic to get Lehens out of there. But can they escape the Peanut on this Udyr? I don't think so, but Peanut's going to give up the chase for now. Rich.
Run him down.
Almost has Cannon Barrage. Cannon Barrage is
Run
so
him down.
close. Oh.
Keep going. Oh.
This is really scary.
I wanted to watch them run down the entire lane. It wasn't meant to be, not this time.
You don't get your race, unfortunately.
Well, they took a Nexus turret down. And in the beginning, you know, it's Dread just, you know, we cast a curse him, so it's not his fault, actually.
Yeah, no, of course.
He gets caught out here. He shows that he is, he's got a big shield. He's packing. He's packing a big shield. There's not much you can do. And then this was really interesting. You know, you're spending so much time to just kill Keen. You're expending flashes, the Kaisa ultimate that won't be able to be used on a follow-up team fight in the base, obviously. So yes, Duckdom gets in there, gets the kill, 450 gold. But you lost an inhibitor and you lost a Nexus turret. So the trade at the end of the day isn't fantastic. And, you know, maybe if it's like a 5v5 in your base, you lose. So they're thinking like, oh, if we take Keen out of the fight before it even begins, maybe that's how we stick in this game. But I don't know. It didn't feel that calculated, you know? It felt like they saw enemy champion and they were looking to kill enemy champion. Peanut having a lot of fun on the Udyr, at least.
Yeah, but, you know, a lost game is always going to not be fun, right? You know, you can say you play the game for fun, but it's still less fun if you lose. It's now Peanut getting chased down. He's getting a delivery of his own medicine, as flies pretty fast as well with that Q movement speed. But it's going to take a little bit more than that in order to actually lock down the Udyr, as now Afreeca. Big boost to that movement speed with the Shirelias. And that's just going to be enough to take down the inner turret. Rich is going to be able to grab that last siege minion, does so effectively, which is going to make us feel a lot more pleased. Still only 2,000 gold to lead, but there's an Ocean Soul. And when it's Olaf with an Ocean Soul, oh, that's a lot of healing. Gore Drinker, Ocean Soul, Sterix as well for the extra shielding. Oh my god. We already saw just how oppressive it is. Yeah, exactly. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I think maybe Randuin's to finish that one off. They already have one, but just to make sure that Duckdom is doing absolutely nothing, at least trying to cut down on some of that damage at least. And, you know, maybe the Lord Dominic's was a great choice in the end.
Definitely.
If you're going to be hitting Olaf this many times, now that he has stacked some actual armor into his kit. So pretty nice there. Nongshim are set up for this Elder. We got 30 seconds until this spawns. Afreeca kind of seeding the ground there. You know, giving it up is what I'm saying. And they seem okay with that. You know, they have teleport here for Keen up in the top side, I suppose.
Okay, he's looking to try and break his way in. And remember, there are super creeps. They are a long way away from the Nexus turret, as now Dread possibly under fire, but he's pretty safe. Has the Ghost available as well as his Ragnarok. He will be fine, and this inhibitor turret is going to go down. Nongshim are on the clock. They don't necessarily know what to do. Lehens moving on in here at the same time. This Nexus, this inhibitor is going to be taken. There's now Rich as the sole man defending. Okay, the Elder down extraordinarily low. There's the flash forward. Shockwave does absolutely nothing. And neither does the Rel. The Elder's going to join in on this battle as Dread's massive. Rel's going to die. And this is going to be the last dance that Nongshim are going to get invited to this series. Elder will be taken. The Nexus turret will follow. I think it's just going to be a 1v1 on the top side for Keen. At the same time as the Dragon comes down, eats the gangplank. And the Gnar will have the last laugh this game.
The Gnar has the last laugh, but so does Olaf.
Oh, no,
if you
Fly.
see that fight, oh man, Fly's gonna come in here and, well, not be able to get that denial on that one. But it does not matter. Afreeca pull up with the 2-0 tonight. That was kind of unexpected, to be honest. I was expecting 3 games, but big boy Olaf shows up and Dread makes it work on full build Olaf 35 minutes into the game.
Was precisely not what I was expecting. I was looking at the game much like you were, Valdez. You saw those 3 kills. They were the only 3 kills that they had from about 10 minutes until 25 minutes. And then somehow, Dread just goes into Super Saiyan mode. I think they heard that Canyon was a really, really good player. And so now there's the Afreeca Canyon, which is what happens to the gold graph after like 15 minutes into the game. There's this huge canyon of gold, but this time they clawed their way out of it. We actually saw the other side of the canyon. And unfortunately for Nongshim, they just couldn't really escape the power that is the Dread Olaf. Oh,
yeah,
God.
He was, you know, shout out to him, man. He had a great game.
Yeah.
In game number 2, and ending game number 1. You know, he was part of the reason that Keen got so fed and why Keen was able to pick up the player of the game in game number 1, right? And it's only sadness on the side of Nongshim RedForce. Really, you know, I don't even know how you're supposed to feel after that one. I would imagine very helpless, you know, because Duckdom for a second game in a row. Honestly, games 1 and games 2 looked pretty similar until we started seeing like the Udyr shenanigans, and then kind of the way that the team fights looked were a little bit different, with the Udyr just kind of charging in with the Orianna ball, but it was very much kind of like Duckdom is super fed on the Kaisa. You've got Bay on a late game scaler, and they have the Gangplank instead of the Graves, and it's like, it didn't matter. Like, they had so much damage, but they could not kill Olaf. They just flashed and Ghost in Olaf's case, and they just ran at Duckdom, and he did nothing in the game. He died down to his GA. He was trying to kite the Olaf, and he died there as well. And there was just no help. Nobody else on the team was able to do anything, and it was just out of control. That game was like a massive fiesta in mostly a good way. It was pretty fun, I would say.
I'd say it was fun. I think if you're an analyst and you were sort of trying to prove that this Olaf first pick was silly, which I still stand by, was silly. You watch him then like just pick up the game and take a victory out of the jaws of defeat. That's not what you want. That's not going to make you pleased. But thankfully, we've got 2 play-by-plays on the desk tonight, so we're just psyched about having some exciting League of Legends. Bit sad for Peanut, who wanted to have his revenge against the Udyr play that did take him down at the hands of Pyoshik in the debut Udyr. But we are going to go over some of these highlights here. As you can see, Rich once again getting a little bit punished this time, not quite as egregious.
Yeah, and it's Dread up in the top side. Peanut set up some nice ganks down here on the bottom side. I mean, Bang Lahens didn't end up doing much, you know, in this series. They had some moments in game number 1, but other than that, we're mostly just kind of invisible. It was all about Keen and Dread. And Fly did a nice amount of damage in this game as well. Here's a little bit of a mistake where they go way too deep into the enemy jungle and get a little bit more. You just, you know, not, you know, they don't do much for this team when you're doing that. And then we saw a couple of team fights where it's just Peanut sprinting at you, and you don't really know what to do, but then they eventually figure out what the answer is. It's to sprint right back, and to have your super fed Olaf just do crazy stuff in their backline.
And it worked for a while. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. As at this moment, I was thinking game 3 was guaranteed, right? It looked like Afreeca had completely zoned out. Didn't really know what to do, but maybe it's part of the veteran power of some of these players on this squad, right? Like, this has some of the older players that we have here in the LCK all sort of lined up. You know, Lahens and Bang on the bottom side have been playing for a very long time. Keen as well, Fly, one of the oldest players in the league at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken. It's only really Dread that's still a young gun, but he debuted quite a while ago. So certainly some potentially cooler heads, let's hope, here for Afreeca that allowed them to get this 2-0. But it wasn't clean. We saw yesterday the DRX KT series was another one that just wasn't clean. And yeah, I don't think as an Afreeca fan or as a Nongshim fan, you're going to necessarily be breathing them sighs of relief, as we're going to have a look at yeah, Fly's Panic Flash, which I don't blame him for one iota.
Yeah, and then, you know, as I mentioned, they just kind of realized that the answer is to go forward, right? Lahens and Dread on the front line for Afreeca, and Peanut and Kellen on the front line for Nongshim. But you notice here, Duckdom, he jumps in, and it's like, oh, wait, like, my front line died. I'm alone. We don't even have Bay. What's he doing? He's not getting any damage done because he's zoned out. And then Olaf ends up picking up the quadra kill because, you know, he just loves fights like that. And they do it again. Let's listen into what they had to say during this one.
너 존야 빠졌다니? 야, 우디를 잡았어.
Got Udyr.
야,
Kaisa.
야, 장로하자. 장로 안 되니?
카이사 잡았어. 끝내자. 끝났다.
And it's over.
맞아.
It was?
Oh, the big dragon.
Yeah.
진효가 머리
Afreeca.
박아줘야지. 진효가.
아니 나 돌고 있었는데? 뭐 언제 말하는 거야?
아까 그거 우리 우산
It's
사용해.
like- I think he was like, you gotta.
근데 나르 뒤로 돈다고
He does
했는데
survive
그거.
this.
그래도 그 용책 해야지
Sure.
그래도. 너 맞은 거 봐야지.
Oh, maybe he said you gotta
너한테
stop
스텝
the
빠지면
backs.
어떻게 된다 했어.
You gotta stop
잘
him.
모르겠어.
Because
얘들아 나 데려가줘.
Fly wasn't able to successfully do that.
Can you translate that last one, which was
Oh, that's exactly what it was.
Fly having a good game. As you can see, almost 40,000 damage coming out of
Yeah.
this Victor. Second highest will be the 22k coming out of the Olaf. Definitely doing a good job there. Similar things, you know, Rich doing gangplank stuff, right? Does a lot of damage himself, but I don't think this game was about the damage graph. It was about that Afreeca Canyon, as you can see right there, that they managed to climb out of.
Yeah, it's a very red canyon, as you can see, but
Yeah.
Even with those very steep walls, they were able to get themselves out of it somehow, some way. And props to them. That wasn't easy, you know? They made it look relatively easy at the end, but there was a big struggle there as eventually Dread just realized he needed to run in there, scream, "Witness me," and just jump into the back line and hope for the best. And it certainly worked out pretty well.
Yep, that chrome looking real good on his lips. Definitely, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to be moving towards the analyst desk very, very shortly, and I'm very interested to see what our Rocks duo have to say about that game, because it's not exactly the most fun for the analysts. So let's throw it over to G-Sun for some translation.
아프리카 프릭스가 연패
Afreeca Freaks
탈출에
was able to
성공합니다.
end
농심
their
레드포스는
losing streak
연승을
with a
만들어가지
victory up against
못했는데요.
Nongshim
오늘도
RedForce.
어김없이 우디르가
Today we saw another
농심의
Udyr
조합상으로는
coming out in
우디르가
the
활약하기
LCK,
최적화된
and Nongshim had a really good
네,
comp that connects really well with Udyr.
그 정글 속도도 되게 빠르고 또
Udyr is a really nice pick into Olaf. He can clear the jungle camps much faster, and Orianna Udyr combo is definitely a thing here in the LCK, whereas Afreeca still stick to this first pick Olaf, and Kuro thinks that the best team, best champion in the jungle is the Olaf, and also best champion in the bottom lane is Kai'Sa. So we saw a bit of a trade of the God tier champions in the meta. We have a lot of blind pick Kai'Sa coming in, especially from the blue side, but Afreeca Freaks was actually just sticking to the Olaf B1 pick, and they showed us the reason why. Nongshim RedForce had the lane priority looking at the matchup. It was really impressive to see Rakan actually getting banned out, and we saw a huge synergy created by Rel and Udyr. Based on the draft, we were expecting a lot of jungle fight coming out. And we had some weird setup coming out from Nongshim RedForce. So Samira got her back, and Nautilus actually gets collapsed by a number of enemies, but it only costed him a dredge line to get away, whereas actually Rel committed her flash. So let's see how this also snowballs. The minion wave was in an awkward spot for Nongshim RedForce, but at the same time, Orianna was able to place a ward in the jungle and also got a vision around the red buff camp with the Scryer's Bloom. So we can tell that Nongshim had a clue of the Olaf's location. However, because of the wave that is created on the other side of the Nongshim, they were forcing for a fight right here. So they knew that Olaf must be in a very close proximity for this skirmish, so they were forced to call Peanut to join this fight. So they knew that they were in a rough spot, but they had to take this fight. So Afreeca was able to pick up a huge win. And we saw a huge improvement in terms of the late game decision coming out from Afreeca Freaks, and especially Olaf was a monster right here. GP actually used his ulti earlier to this fight, and Udyr just walked straight in. And we, you know, have a bit of a tension going on, and then Rel managed to get a big stun in the back line, but Olaf and Nar was able to actually just eliminate the carries in the back line. And there was no way for Afreeca to lose this fight, and it's really odd to see Kaisa going for actually Gale Force because Olaf and Nar was the most fat champion on the side of Afreeca, so Kraken Slayer would have been a much better itemization for Kaisa in that kind of comp. Olaf was able to actually take so many aggro's by himself and then live with the Zonia activation, so it was really impressive to see Afreeca performing way better today. The player of the game would be Dread on that Olaf monster game. He deserves this POG. The counter gank from the early game, the setup, everything was perfect. The way he kind of invaded to the backline of the enemy was really on point, so there was no way for Mei and Dokdam to kind of do much damage in the team fights. Afreeca, mid and jungle were doing everything done by themselves. The props over to Fry and Fly and Dread duo on Afreeca Freecs. Even though they were getting stunned by engagements, they weren't really afraid of that. They were kept lending their skills and they were doing so much damage outputs during the team fights. You'll never take down that fed Olaf on Gale Force Kaisa. And another unanimous vote going over to the POG of the Afreeca Freecs. So let's invite the players for this POG interview, Keen and Dread.
준비하고 계시나 봐요.
네네.
Waiting for that video call connection. And here they are. Congratulations on your win.
네, 안녕하세요.
Hello, thank you.
네, 승리 축하드립니다. 이제 2연패 탈출에
You guys are
성공했는데요.
able
기인
to end
선수는
your losing streak, and Kian, this is your
소감부터
first
들어볼게요.
POG. Congratulations on that as well. How you're feeling?
오랜만에 인터뷰하는 것 같아서
I think
되게
it's been a while
기분이
since
새로운 것
I
같아요.
had an interview, so it feels really
저희도
refreshing.
짧고 간결하네요.
네. 그리고 또 첫 POG를 받은 드레드 선수도
And Dread as
소감
well,
한번
how are
들어볼
you
수 있겠죠?
feeling
기분이
after
어떠세요?
getting that first POG?
저도 오랜만에
Me
POG
too.
받는 거라 되게 기분이 좋네요.
I'm glad to pick up this POG after a quite long while.
이게 아프리카 프릭스의 컬러인 것 같습니다. 자, 그럼 기인 선수에게 물어볼 텐데요.
Question over to Kiin
초반에
here.
아프리카 프릭스가 라인전은
Afreeca
강하지만
Freecs
또
always showed a
중후반부터
very
운영이
strong
풀어지면서
laning phase,
연패에
but they had
빠지게
hard times with
됐었는데요.
the
오늘은 또
map
전혀 다른 팀의
decision in the
모습을
late game, but
보여줬습니다.
today you guys
이
looked
중후반
different.
약점을 어떻게
So
보완하고자
what did you
했는지
focus on in
들어볼게요.
order to tidy up this kind of macro decision
저희가
problems?
초반에 좀 라인전은 괜찮게 하는데
I think
이제
we
좀 후반 가서 약간
play well during the
한타나
laning
운영
phase,
단계에서
but I
터지는
think
경기가
we got just
많았어가지고
blown up
예,
during the
스크림에서
team fights
최대한
and
그런
macro
부분 보완하려
stage,
했던
so
것
that
같고
was the
오늘
focal
그런
point
게
during the
좀
scrims,
경기에서
and
조금이나마
I think we
나왔던
were
것
able
같아요.
to kind of reflect that
저는 이제
a little
아까
bit during this game.
말씀하셨다시피 오늘 탑 정글의 호흡과 기량이 많이 상승한 것 같고
I
또
wanna
두 분
point
다
out
단독
that
POG를 받으셨거든요.
Keen and Dread, you
단독
guys
POG가 아니라 이제
actually
몰표를
popped
받으셨거든요.
up
그래서
in
혹시
today's
그렇게
match,
폼을
today's series,
끌어올리게
and
된
you guys
계기가
are
따로
showing
있을까요?
great teamwork. So how are you guys able to step up this much?
딱히
Because you
계기
guys
같은
were
건
the
없고
unanimous
그냥
POGs.
이제 솔랭을
Nothing
많이
much.
하다
I've been playing
보니까
solo
그런
queue a
것
lot.
같아요.
I've been grinding.
그럼 드레드 선수는요?
What about you, Dread?
비결이 있을까요?
How are you able to improve so much?
한 달 전쯤 제가 폼이 되게 안 좋다는
I
걸
was in a
느끼고
very bad
솔랭에도
form
많이
last month.
진지하게
So I've been
임하고 그랬더니
really serious
폼이
playing the solo
자연스럽게
queue,
오르는 것
so
같아요.
naturally I was able to kind of step up.
그렇죠. 솔로 랭크가 약간 좀 그렇게 기초를 다지는 그런
Solo
게
queue
되기도
is
하거든요.
the place where you can tidy up your fundamental skills.
1경기 사일러스
Keen,
물어볼 건데 이제
long time no see. I have a question about your Silas game in game 1, and in the end of the game, in the mic check, Bang actually said Silas is broken, and you were indeed popping off on Silas up against Nar. And also today up against Silas. But it's not really having a good time up against Silas in Nar, Gragas in the early game. But why did you still pick Silas?
알리공을 뺐으면 이제 다들 아시다시피
Yeah, I mean, it does have a rough time up against Gragas during the laning phase, but as you guys all know, he is like unkillable if you get these Alistar ultimates.
그 피드백에 대해 물어보고 싶은데요. 이제 실수가 좀 많았지만 이제 분명
However,
나아진
today's
점도 있어요.
performance did show a lot of mistakes. It was a little bit sloppy, but it did improve compared to previous matches. And today, you guys were not going all in for the Baron. You guys were actually setting up for some bait plays. So was that the main point for your feedback?
계속 나아지려고 계속 피드백하고 있는
Those are the things that we are working on in order to get better, and we will keep work hard in order to get rid of those mistakes.
자, 드레드 선수는 2경기 연속 유채와
Dread,
올라프를
you played
선택했잖아요.
Ghost
오늘을 위해서
Olaf for 2
특별히
games in a
준비한
row.
픽이라고
Was
봐도
that
될까요?
special strategy that you prepared for today?
아무래도 올라프가 900원을 딱
Olaf,
모으고 첫
if he
기한에
gets
쿨감신 사는 게
900
되게
gold,
좋더라고요.
and it's really,
그래가지고
it has the best
유치하고
synergy, which is cooldown
찰떡궁합이지
boots. So I
않을까
thought
해가지고
Ghost was
들어갔던
the
것 같아요.
perfect kind of summoner choice.
네, 그런 것 같습니다. 그런데 또 이속이 강점인 우디르를
However, Udyr is a
상대했잖아요.
champion that is
어땠나요?
also super fast. So how was playing up against that champion?
되게 발 빠르더라고요. 잡기
Yeah, he was
힘들더라고요.
super fast. It was really hard to chase him
그런데
down.
또 잡아내는 모습을 볼 수 있었고
그렇죠.
그 덕엔 선열
However, in
포식자
the end,
덕도
you guys
있을
are
것
able to
같은데
lock
이거
down the
너프해야
victory,
된다는
and
분들 많으신데
I think
드레드 선수
Gordrinker
생각은
was
어떠세요?
really doing a lot of work. And a lot of people say Gordrinker needs a nerf. Do you agree? I think this item actually deserves a double nerf.
질문을 드리는 건데 올라프가 이제 3-0-0으로 시작을 해서 게임이 좀 좋아
Speaking of
보였는데
the
약간
Olaf
좀
game, Afreeca
힘들렸었잖아요.
looked to
그
be in a
와중에서
big
저는 올라프가
lead
되게
with the
팀이
3-0-0
흔들리는
Olaf,
와중에
but
잘해줬다라고 생각을 했는데 약간
Afreeca was
그
falling apart a
뭐
little bit in
게임을
the
다시
mid game, but you guys are
잡아보자는
able to
그런
get back
콜을
in
어떻게
game
주고받았는지 그게
and
좀 궁금해요.
close out the game. So how did you guys cope with the situation?
그냥 괜찮다고 하고
We're
저희가
like
인스택을
everything's
잘
okay, and we had
쌓아놔가지고
enough dragon stacks.
침착하게
So we
했던
just
것
wanted
같아요.
to focus and stay
인스택 쌓아보자
calm,
하면서 그랬던
and we were looking for some fights around the dragon.
모습이 오늘 경기에서 빛났고 그럼 돌아오는 일요일에 T1과의
And this
경기가
Sunday,
기다리고
you guys
있습니다.
will be
드레드
facing up
선수부터
against
각오
T1.
들어볼게요.
How are we gonna prepare for that match?
하필 저희랑 경기할 때 또
I heard the bad news
T1에서 제우스
that
선수가
T1
나올 수
can
있다는
field
걸
Zeus
들었거든요.
on the matchup against
이제
us. So that's a
기인
very,
형이
very
잘
bad
혼내주지
news for us,
않을까.
but I'm trusting on Keen, you know?
그러면 혼내줄 기인 선수 얘기도
Keen,
들어봐야
are you ready for that? I
하고
heard
부탁드릴게요.
Dread saying you're gonna teach him a lesson.
사실 이제 대회를 데뷔하는 선수는
You
보통
know,
이제 대회장에서
when a
하면
player
긴장을
has
하지
a debut game,
마련인데
they get nervous if
이제
they get to
스토에서
play
하다
at
보니까
the
그렇게
venue,
긴장은
but
많이
because
안
they're
되실 것
playing
같아서
from
조금
the team house,
아쉬운 것 같고
so yeah, a little
저는
bit
저
too bad
하던
news
대로
for us,
그냥
but I'm
계속하면
going
될
to
것
focus
같아요.
on my own
네,
work
지금
as
인터뷰
usual.
보시면서 좀 긴장을 갑자기 하게 되실 것 같은데 기인 선수 또 SNS
Keen,
보니까
I saw a
팬분들이
post
선물
from
진짜
Afreeca
많이
Freecs that you got a gift
보내주셨더라고요.
from your
팬분들께
fans.
한마디
Any message
해주세요.
over to your fans out there?
요새 저희 경기력이 조금
Recently,
보는 재미가 없으신 분들이
I
이제
know our
많으실 것
performance
같은데
has been
앞으로
really
계속 노력하고
disappointing,
보완하고 있으니까
but we are really working
너무
hard in order to
실망하지
get
마시고 계속
rid of all the
응원해
bumps on
주셨으면
the road.
감사하겠습니다.
So please keep supporting us. Thank you.
오늘 승리
This will be the
축하드립니다.
end of the interview with Keen Dread from
네,
Afreeca Freecs, and I'm gonna
감사합니다.
pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason, as usual, for the interview and analyst desk translation. And here we are, straight into the standings to see what has been shaken up out of that one. And it feels like a bit of a switch of positions, as Afreeca have taken 7th place over Nongshim. RedForce, who now moved down to 8th. And it's not looking so good for them. Of course, formerly Team Dynamics. They're kind of used to being at this side of the bracket, but not necessarily this low down.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing loss there, especially because it was a 0-2. And, you know, we'll see what they bring us next time, because we saw some moments that were decent, but at the end of the day, you gotta get those W's, and Afreeca were able to eke them out just barely.
Damn right they were, but we've got a banger of a match coming up in our next one. Damwon Kia versus Harmwell Life Esports, Showmaker versus Chovy, all of that good stuff. Let's see how that one's going to go, but there is going to be a bit of a wait, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you after about a 30-minute break.